Lewis, a tough place to get into or out of. With Chicago in town, the Kiel Center figures to be a tough place to play. Bright spots have been few and far between for the Blackhawks. Tony Amonte is their brightest spot. His 23 goals tie him for the league lead. Tonight, he shoots to snap that tie and snaps Chicago out of their season-long funk. NHL would call this a Central Division clash. As Chris Berman would call it, it's the Black and Blue Division. The Blackhawks and the Blues from a sold-out Kiel Center. And hi, everybody. I'm Steve Levy. Welcome to ESPN2's coverage of National Hockey Night. The last time Chicago went into St. Louis, they were whipped by the Blues. Dirk Graham said afterwards it was an embarrassment to the Blackhawks uniform. Harsh words from the head coach. And joined by my partner Bill Clement, even Tony Amonte seems to be struggling right now for Chicago. Fabulous on the power play, especially at home. Al McInnes runs it from the point, named to the All-Star team today, and they've got the NHL's leading power play goal scorer in Pavel Demitra.
Well, you know that the Blues were wondering this year, where are we going to get our goals from? Because Brett Hull isn't here any longer. Did this gentleman, Pavel Demitra, ever pick a terrific time to have a career year? Now remember, Jeff Courtnall is still out of the lineup here. So is Pierre Turgeon, so there's even less offense. You take a look at Pavel Dimitra's numbers. He is projecting to a 45-goal, 93-point season without Pavel Demitra. It's a lot like the Tony Amonte situation in Chicago. After Pavel Demitra, there's a big drop-off.
Speaking of which, Amonte is the player who trails Demitra in power play goals. What about Tony Amonte? We know he's the best in the red, white, and black. Where does he rank in the red, white, and blue? Stay tuned. Leave you along with Bill Clement. And during this summer here in St. Louis, on pace, a very powerful term when it was used for Mark McGuire in his home run chase. Well, on pace for Tony Amonte, he's on pace for 49 goals this season. John LeClair of the Flyers on pace for 50, and Keith Tkachuk down a bit because he's missed some games due to injury. But the odds are good that one of those three will lead the NHL in goal scoring this season.
Yeah, I think so. And Tony Amonte doesn't get it done like the other two guys. Tony Amonte care that I'm outweighed by Tony Twist by 40. So watch for that. Reed Simpson and Kelly Chase fought the last time these two teams met. And Tony Twist, who to me is the scariest guy in the NHL, did not phase number 44 in red, Dennis Bonvie, one bit.
Something else to watch for, as you saw, scoring in the first minute against Chicago. In the first minute of a game 7 times this season. Underway tonight from Kiel Center, a late arriving crowd. The game is sold out, but probably due to some of the weather conditions. Take some time for the folks to actually get in the building. Icing is called 11 seconds in. Our referee is Terry Gregson, the linesman Wayne Bonney, and Pierre Ressico.
Well, Jocelyn Thibault starts again, as he has done regularly since he arrived in that trade from Montreal. You know what happens is Jocelyn Thibault's play gets lost in Chicago's record because the numbers aren't great, but his play has been fantastic. At the other end, it's not Grant Fuhr. Consecutive games for the 4th time for Jamie McLennan. And Jamie McLennan is really surprised that he is playing, but Grant Fuhr simply hasn't gotten it done to Joel Quenneville's liking. So here is Jamie McLennan.
Face off to the left of Thibault. Handzus on the draw against Doug Gilmour, but Handzus was thrown out of the face-off, so Demitra will come in and take it for the Blues and win it on some second effort. Back to the point. First shot of the game is right on from Brian Helmer, and Thibault's in the hockey game. It's sent inside the St. Louis zone. And another icing call, this one coming 23 seconds in.
You're going to get scored on a lot in the first minute of play if you keep having face-offs in your end. And that's what Chicago has done. St. Louis's pursuit has forced Dirk Graham's guys just to bank it off the boards, and they've done it a little too hard. Dirk Graham's a frustrated guy, and he's been frustrated by the efforts of his young forwards. Young defensemen have been fine, but Kilger and Ethan Moreau, Eric Daze, very frustrating first season as a head coach in the NHL for Dirk Graham. Joel Quenneville's problem is just getting enough healthy guys out there that can play in the league. You know, Brett Hull left, free agency. Steve Duchesne, good offensive player, left. Courtnall out, Turgeon out. They're still keeping pace.
Interesting to watch the matchup so far here in the first minute of play. Chicago has changed. St. Louis has not in terms of the forward lines. And the Blackhawks get to it with Chad Kilger out ahead the center. Try to hit Gilmour. Now for Daze. Gives it back to Gilmour. Shot, score! 40 seconds in. It's Doug Gilmour, and Chicago not scored against. They score on the opponent this time.
Turn the tables. How about it? Doug Gilmour is not playing with Alexei Zhamnov as he did for a stretch of about 10 days. He split him up, and Eric Daze is now Doug Gilmour's winger. What a pass from Daze, and I can't say enough about this finish. That baby was rolling like a hubcap that just fell off a 60-mile-an-hour car, and Gilmour still shelved it. Right under the crossbar. What a great play and a great finish.
Doug Gilmour has now 6 goals in his last 12 games. In contrast, he scored just 2 goals in his first 27 games. You could say Gilmour is on fire.
Well, he's going now. What got him going? Putting him with Alexei Zhamnov and Tony Amati.
Giveaway, centering feed, shot stopped by Thibault. Scott Young all alone. He's robbed.
Well, we're not even down to a minute yet. I mean, that could have been the Blues answering. Wow, some pretty shoddy coverage by the Hawks. See those 2 guys on the right of your screen? I mean, you can't have 2 guys, both defensemen, looking at the puck carrier. And as a matter of fact, one of those guys was Zhamnov. The other one was Trent Yanni. I think Yanni thought that Zhamnov was going to take Scott Young. I asked Quenneville about Scott Young before the game. He said, gosh, if we could get some consistent offense from him, boy, would it help.
McInnes tried to get off the laser shot. It was blocked before it ever made it on goal, likely by Eddie Olczyk, because he's the guy who's limping around on the ice for Chicago. Rolls up the wall for Tony Amati. Amati out ahead, could not connect with Zhamnov. The goal is Gilmour, 40 seconds, his 8th of the year, but his first on the road, away from the United Center. Daze and Kilger get the assists at even strength. 1-0 Chicago, just what the Blackhawks needed. Play inside the Chicago zone as the Hawks look to come out. Pass a bit too far for Olczyk, could not connect. Amati gets to it, and because of that, it's a 2-line pass. And we get the whistle. Less than 90 seconds in, 1-0 Chicago.
Tony Amati is really the single-pronged attack for Chicago. There's only one other player in double digits in goals, and that is Eric Daze, who got his 10th over the weekend. But if you can stop Tony Amati, you're pretty well going to stop the heart of the Chicago attack. So expect to see Chris Pronger out there a lot against Amati. If the Craig Conroy forward line can get out there against the Amati Zhamnov line, they will also do that. That's Joel Quenneville's plan. But I know what Joel Quenneville was doing early in the game. Chicago was changing like crazy. Joel didn't want to buy into that. You know, if you buy into that, all of a sudden, you're letting the other coach know that you're going to respond every time he does something.
Off the face-off, backhand shot went well wide from Mark Bergevin and rolls around for Chicago. Here come the Blackhawks at center and across the line. Worked ahead for Todd White. Bob Probert throws the check behind the St. Louis end. So Terry Yake able to get it out ahead. Right back the other way. Chicago gets to it. They'll chip it in. But just barely. Bergevin plays it inside his own end. And it's tipped out ahead. Race for the puck. Here's Yake on it. Hits the brakes. Waits for some help. And dumps it down deeper for Pascal Rayon. Centering feed is broken up. Does come free. Shot went wide of the net from Jim Campbell, who's been a big story here in St. Louis lately. Back to the point. Bergevin will shoot it in deeper. Rolls up for Yake. Yanni out to meet him and put him down. Comes free now for Jamie Rivers. Backhand, forehand, shot stopped by Thibault, and Campbell had a whack at it and a penalty on the play. A tripping call. Looks like it'll go against the Blues.
Boy, that really squashes a big bunch of momentum that St. Louis had going on. But Chicago just, you know, when Jamie Rivers can walk in from the blue line, look, there were 2 Hawks out at the blue line. Yikes. I mean, nothing against Jamie Rivers. I'd love him on my team as a defensive defenseman. But when Jamie Rivers is allowed to walk by 3 people to get this scoring opportunity, you know that you've got problems defensively as well as offensively, and that really is what the Chicago Blackhawks have been all about. Problems on both sides of the puck.
Campbell in the box for the trip at 2:27. We mentioned Jim Campbell. He had been a healthy scratch for 4 games. Came back in the last game, Monday night, a shutout win over Vancouver, and scored a goal. And that was significant. His first since November 11th. They count on him to score goals.
Kind of a non-story because he sat out, but that made his goal even bigger. I mean, you know, coaches want a certain results. They want results from players on the ice, and sometimes just talking to them isn't enough. You really get the message when you get taken out of the lineup.
Out of play, from 16 seconds into this first power play of the game for the Blackhawks.
Joel Quenneville looks up and down his lineup. When you're talking about your first line of Pavel Demitra, okay, we've documented his success early in the season. Rookie Michael Handzus as the center, and rookie Lupos Barteko as the left winger. That's your top line. There's Barteko right there. Your second line of Terry Yake, Jim Campbell, Pascal Rayon, and then you've got Craig Conroy, Scott Young, Scott Pellerin. Yikes.
It's not scary.
Well, you got to play good D. I mean, I say yikes. They're all decent hockey players, but it's so great to look up and down your bench and have a couple of sure things offensively, and St. Louis doesn't have that either right now.
Not a representative first line around the NHL. Keep in mind that Pierre Turgeon is out of the lineup, an offensive star, out 2 to 4 more weeks with a fractured bone in his hand. Had the cast removed on it by Monday, this past Monday, so they're hoping to have him back around the All-Star break as the Chicago power play continues and struggles inside their own end. Chris Chelios looks to lead the charge. Out ahead for Alexei Zhamnov. Doug Gilmour on the big line with the man advantage. Pass off escape and back out to center. Tipped away now, and Chelios has to recover deep in his own zone. Cross ice, Gilmour crosses the red line, slaps it in. Chris Pronger is backcourt. Pronger tried to slap it out, kept it nicely momentarily at the point, and the Blues look to break shorthanded. Here's Craig Conroy. Conroy centering feed, and Tebow able to stop it as it was rolling through the crease.
Great help from Chris Chelios. That's a good play by Craig Conroy. He was forced wide by Chris Chelios. See, the idea when you're backing up as the one defender is to delay the play. Don't let him beat you clean. See, Chris Chelios got a stick out in front. You know Conroy wanted to move it over right away, and then Chelios ended up lying down with his stick out, and that forced the delay of the play and really took away. I mean, you know what? The back checker, who was that Chicago guy back checker? Don't even know who it was. He would have gotten that pass if Chelios hadn't touched it, because Chelios forced a delay in the execution of the offensive play.
Of all the players in the Chicago lineup tonight that have been with the Blackhawks all season and play on a regular basis, Chris Chelios has the best plus-minus on the team, and he's even. Even. That's the best plus-minus. Of all the players that play regularly for Chicago and have been with the team all year long, he is even.
That pretty well explains Chicago's season.
Tough season. 30 seconds left in the man advantage for the Blackhawks. Wrapped around. Brian Muir out there now, and Muir carrying the puck. Second unit on for the Chicago power play. Broke it up. Eastwood couldn't get to it. Daze does for Chicago. Puck is loose, finally corralled by St. Louis, and they're able to skim it down the ice and kill off some more of that valuable time. Here's Muir just crossing the line and shooting in. White gets to it. McKinnis on him. Centering free. Olczyk gets to it. Campbell out of the box. We're back to 5 aside. Dangerous in front. And McLennan able to make the stop for the Blues. Here's Campbell fresh from the box. And they are freshly offside of the Chicago blue line.
Yeah.
Doug Gilmour has been getting it going lately. Not just assists, but goals. He's on the board. So too is Chicago.
I'm Bob McKenzie. This is my brother Doug.
How's it going, eh?
And we're having a Molson with Hall of Famer Guy Lafleur, eh?
Yeah, Lafleur, that's like a real hockey name. What's that mean, eh? Like the wolf?
Or the lion, eh?
No, Lafleur means the flower.
Well, like a tough flower, eh? Like a dogwood or a snapdragon, eh?
Roses have thorns, eh?
They're tough. You're tough.
You know, you try to raise your children right, and sometimes it just doesn't work. But as long as you have harmony in the family, that's fine. Assuming that is mother and daughter, we like that. You're allowed to cheer for a team that your mom doesn't cheer for.
And it wasn't just any Blackhawk jersey, maybe the most hated Blackhawk here in St. Louis, Chris Chelios.
You're right.
Sent inside the St. Louis zone. Kilger is on it for the Hawks. Good forecheck here by Chicago. Prober tried to get to it, couldn't. And out the other way is Jim Campbell, streaking through St. Louis. He fires it, blocked by Christian Laflamme, but it's recovered by the Blues. Sent in by Rayon, back behind the net. Campbell does seem inspired early, despite the penalty.
I mean, he looks committed and decisive every time he moves with the puck. I mean, he's got tons of energy.
Behind the net, Yates to it for the Blues. He's pinned immediately and tied up. Chelios avoided a stick, come in and get the puck, but it is just cleared as Rivers could not hold at the St. Louis blue line. Back to Bergevin deep inside his own zone as the Blues look to regroup. 5.5 in, 1-0 Chicago. We showed you earlier, they get scored on the first minute of a hockey game 7 times this season. Tonight they score in the first minute. Broken up, and that too will roll across the blue line. Al McInnes.
They don't have a monitor down on their bench, do they, looking at our show?
It's possible.
Might have angered them a little bit.
Rolled around the boards. McInnes We'll keep it in. Congratulations to Al McInnes. Named to his 10th All-Star team today. He will start for the North Americans coming up in Tampa. McInnes gets it away from Jamnov. Just barely. Barely. Good forecheck by Jamnov. Blues get to it, look to come out. Skating 5-on-5. Jamnov was going for a change. That's why he did not play the puck. Here's Muir for Chicago. Up ahead, Olczyk was checked immediately by McInnes. They're just onside. Gilmour scores! A rocket from Doug Gilmour beats Jamie McLennan. He's got a pair, and Chicago leads 2-0.
Don't touch him, you'll burn yourself. Boy, Doug Gilmour is hot, double hot. I think this one might have gone post to post. You know, Doug Gilmour looked for his options. He always wants to pass first. But as soon as he checked to see that there was no option but shooting, that went post to post, and it may have even deflected off Persson's stick as he shot. You know, the Chicago Blackhawks come into tonight's game ranked 26th, next to last overall in offense. They rank dead last 5-on-5 goals scored. They got 2 even-strength goals scored already in this first period.
Make it 7 goals in the last 12 games for Doug Gilmour, and that 12th game is only some 6.5 minutes old. 2-0. A shocker to start here in St. Louis. The Blackhawks out in front. Now Chicago looking for someone else to score goals. They have to look no further lately than Doug Gilmour.
You know, Doug Gilmour hit a milestone recently, and you know that might have helped get him going too, besides playing with Alexei Jamnov. It was a big night for Doug Gilmour in December, the day after Christmas, December 26th. Doug Gilmour scored to become only the 27th player in NHL history to hit the 1,200-point mark. We also should point out that tonight, Doug Gilmour is playing with a cast on his left hand because he's got a banged-up thumb. It's a small cast, but it's a rigid cast, and it takes something off his shot and his puck handling and his face-offs.
We were with producer Mike Baker in the hotel, ran into Gilmour, and Baker said, hey, is he going to be able to play with that thing? I guess he can play. 6.5 minutes in, Gilmour's got a pair. The second one, his 9th from Muir and Brown, even strength, at 6:22.
My first professional coach in the American League was a man named Eddie Bush. May he rest in peace. He passed away about 10 years ago. A guy would have a banged-up limb, a hand, an ankle. He'd say, boys, it's a long way from the heart, and you better be ready to play.
Face-off, won by the Blues. Chicago has 3 shots on goal. 2 of them have eluded Jamie McLennan to start. Off the glass and out of the zone. Gilmour will shoot in. Pronger backcourt, takes the hit, able to clear. Barteco out at center. As they look to move it ahead, Dimitra overskated just a bit, and it was fired back the other way. Lubos Barteco on with Michael Handzus and Pavel Dimitra, the 9th leading scorer in the National Hockey League.
It's the all-Slovak line.
Dimitra out ahead, and it'll go a bit too far, and it looks like it'll go for icing. Doug Gilmour's got it all going on tonight. He's got a pair and has given Chicago the lead.
Good day, Bob and Doug McKenzie in the Great White North. We was doing some extreme skiing, eh?
Yeah, we got extremely tired, so we decided to call it a day.
2 days, eh?
Now I'm kind of extremely parched.
Hey, are you seeing what I'm seeing?
Hey, it's Hosehead.
Rescued by molten ice on a mountainside.
Molson Ice, an adventure in every beer.
Geez, I can't feel my extremities, eh? Oh, well, let's suck foam. Lang?
John Butchergrossen, ESPN2 Studios. Let's go to Pittsburgh. The Penguin power play 6th best in the league. Robert Lang, courtesy of Jaromir Jagr, gets his 16th goal of the year. The first Penguin goal was on the power play. 2 power play goals has them a 2-0 lead over Carolina.
All right, John, thanks. We'll see you later on NHL Tonight, immediately following our game. During the commercial, they were nice enough to welcome us here at the Kiel Center. Shot of Bill and I up on the big board, so they had something else to boo early on here at the hockey game.
We just sent a message, everybody, drive carefully and don't forget to wear your big galoshes. Another snowstorm and sleet and all that stuff is hitting St. Louis tonight.
Centering feed. Yake tried to sneak it through. Tebow able to break it up. And the Hawks will break back the other way. Play was broken up as Manson's pass hit a skate. Nelson Emerson, recently acquired from Carolina, and the Paul Coffey-Deal. He's on the ice, sporting number 11 in the road Chicago red uniform.
You know, I like this line that Chicago has. Todd White's got a lot of spunk down the middle. Nelson Emerson's got pretty good skill and speed. And Bob Probert is having an underrated season, especially cycling down low and along the wall. He's been really strong.
Rayom lost it. Rolled on them just a bit and couldn't fire it in. It's back the other way for Chicago as the Blues look to get a change. Just onside. It's back the other way with speed. Here's Barteco. He is checked immediately by Dennis Bonvie, I believe his first shift of the hockey game. We'll see if we get some of the tough guys out on the ice. Probert's already there for Chicago. Ricard Pearson, his first shift for the Blues. He takes the check. Back the other way now. Handzusen across the line. It's broken up. Chelios has it knocked away from him.
Okay, the TNT has just entered the building and skated onto the ice surface.
Reed Simpson, 33 in red, something to watch for. There's Tony Twist as he runs into Dennis Bonvie. The two players come together.
Hey, oh, I thought they were going to go. Dennis Bonvie and Tony Twist looked like they came within this much of getting at it again.
Mark Janssens was out there. Pretty good third tough guy to have on a tough line.
Nice backup.
Here's Al McGinnis for the Blues.
I got your back, don't worry.
Back the other way. Eastwood now in across the line streaking on Brad Brown. And he sent it in front, and no Blues player able there to take advantage, and so Thibault will cover it up. We got plenty of NHL action for you coming up here on ESPN2. First on Monday, the Buffalo Sabres take on the Phoenix Coyotes at 9 Eastern. Dominik Hasek will try and stop one of the top teams in the league, led by Jeremy Roenick. Good to see JR back in the Phoenix lineup. Then on Wednesday, Dallas will visit San Jose. Brett Hull, Mike Madonna with the Stars face off against Jeff Friesen, Mike Vernon, and the Sharks. Note that start time, 10:30 Eastern. Full week of NHL hockey for you right here on ESPN2.
Tony Twist, simply 240 pounds. First time these teams met was November the 10th here in St. Louis. That is Dennis Bonvie in red. Tony Twist in white, outweighing Bonvie by 35 pounds. That's what happened tonight. Just moments ago, Tony Twist and Dennis Bonvie introducing themselves to one another. And Bonvie turned around and I think made the challenge. I'm not sure. Tony Twist had other things to do, so he skated backwards to his end.
We mentioned at the top, Dirk Graham called that game an embarrassment to the Blackhawks. He singled out two of his players in a positive way. It wasn't Chelios, wasn't Amonte. It was Reed Simpson and Dennis Bonvie for answering the call. As icing is called now, they'll bring it back down to the St. Louis end.
By the way, we should announce that Dennis Bonvie has changed his name, and it was announced to us by Tony Amonte, who was really responsible for the name change. It is now DB Bonvie. B actually stands for Bonvie, but there it is. He likes, and we cleared it with him. And Jim DeMaria, the Director of Public Relations for the Blackhawks, said, yes, we are all going with DB Bonvie. So he is set for a career in film directing when he retires.
You're watching ESPN2's coverage of National Hockey Night from the Kiel Center in St. Louis, along with Bill Clement and our fine crew, Steve Levy, with you. 2-0 Chicago, a pair of Dougie Gilmour goals in the first 6.5 minutes in have given Chicago the rare 2-0 lead.
And you can see that Gilmour isn't even taking face-offs. Chad Kilger, who can play the wing and can play center, has taken all of the face-offs, and that is obviously because of the cast that Doug Gilmour has on his thumb, and you got no power that way.
Up around for Eric Daze, off for Chad Kilger, and they look to move ahead at center. Laflamme, the defenseman, will shoot in. Gilmour's first in. Well, he looks like he has an awful lot of jump tonight as well.
Well, if he didn't at the start, scoring 2 will really get you alive, because all of a sudden you can smell 3.
Back in front of the net, nearly off Gilmour and in, but it's Yake for the Blues. Here's Terry Yake. He's got Chris Pronger with him. Swing pass behind him to Pronger, and Pronger will shoot in. He looks to skate back for a change. Yake on the forecheck with Chris Chelios. And Yake showing some good strength there with Chelios all over him. Centering feed in front in the skates of Kilger for the Hawks. And Terry Yake doing a fine forechecking job. In front for Campbell. It was tied up. And Chelios took the man, Laflamme the puck, and they ice it down the length of the ice. Rivers the touch up for the Blues.
You know, you just mentioned that Terry Yake had a pretty good shift, Steve, and he really did. Now, here's a guy that was sent to the minors, and he went down without complaining. But the reason he got sent to the minors was Michael Hansus made it as a rookie, and so did Marty Reisner. Marty Reisner, as it turned out, just couldn't cut it to the Blues management liking, so Marty Reisner and Terry Yake changed places, as in Yake being recalled and Marty Reisner being sent to the minors. Terry Yake's been a good player for Joel Quenneville since coming back. I mean, he's actually centering their second line in this tilt tonight.
A two-time 20-goal scorer. Had a big year, had a 22-goal, 31-assist season for the 1992-93 Hartford Whalers. May they rest in peace. And Yake doing a fine job since being recalled here to the Blues. Probert in the corner. Back behind the net. Emerson. He's checked immediately. Probert will buy you some space out there. Emerson with Barteco on him. And Probert, the man who comes away with the puck. Dumps it down low for White. Centering feed is broken up. And the Blues will break it back the other way. Led by Dimitra. Out ahead for Rivers. Rivers is run down by Dave Manson, and a penalty coming up as Rivers touches again. Back behind the net. McLennan out for the delayed attacker on the delayed penalty, and a power play is coming up. Power play for the Blues. When we come back, Chicago out in front. 2-0. St. Louis looks to cut into that.
The arrow marks the spot. It marks Brian Muir as well. Watch this. As he was coming across, he took a shot at Lubos Barteco. Lucky for Barteco, he just ended up doing about a 360 in the air and didn't hurt his knee, but Muir is off for Chicago.
Chances are, if we put an arrow on you, you've scored a goal or you're in the penalty box, and there is Muir, 2 for interference at 11:40. First power play of the night for the Blues. We mentioned they are outstanding on the power play, number 3 in the NHL. They're particularly good at home, where they are tonight.
And when we get a chance, we've got to get into Chicago's really openly complaining about the number of penalties that they are getting. I mean, they've even gone as far as to suggest that there's a pattern and that there might even be a conspiracy. And gosh, I talked to Brian Lewis, head of officials here before the game, and he has met with the Blackhawks, and they know better, and he knows better, but Chicago takes a lot of penalties.
Second most penalized. That one went off Chelios and on goal. Tebow had to be ready as Amonte tried to clear it from the corner. Here's Dimitra, back to the point. Barteco broke it up nicely by a sliding Chelios. Laflamme throws the check in the corner. Here's Yake with some time. Back to the point. Pronger, the one-timer, high and wide of the cage, and it comes out of the zone. Amonte gets to it. McInnes had to respect him, and so he drops off. Chicago goes for a change.
Pretty good puck movement by the Blues. I mean, anytime you can get a shot from the point and have people there in place for a rebound, you got a good chance of doing something.
Icing is called on the Blues power play.
Well, we mentioned the penalties. Dirk Graham spoke openly and said this the other day after the Sunday game that we did on ESPN. He said, look, either we're the dirtiest team that's ever played this game or something's going on. And I don't think we're that dirty. That was in USA Today.
When he put, when he put Bonvie and Simpson in the lineup tonight, we asked him, is that to initiate or just in case St. Louis does anything in terms of tough stuff and penalties? He said, hey, we don't need to initiate anything.
Right.
And there you see the Chicago numbers.
Well, only the Vancouver Canucks have attempted to kill off more penalties than the Chicago Blackhawks. Those are the two teams that have been most penalized in the form of minor penalties, I guess overall penalty minutes. So it's your star players are your penalty killers too, like Doug Gilmour kills penalties. Tony Amonte, they're worn out by the end of the game.
Chelios.
Yep.
Here's McInnes now. 45 seconds left of power play time. The penalty to Muir. Chicago gets to it. They're able to clear. The power play, a huge part of the first meeting we keep going back to. That it was a 5-2 win by St. Louis. They went 3 for 6 on the power play in that game against the Hawks. Here's Young and across the line, taken out by a pair of Blackhawks, and Chicago's able to clear. Here's Campbell now, hits the brakes. As Brown came out to green. Back behind the net. Knocked away nicely by Mark Janssens. McInnes makes the pass instead of shooting. Campbell gets to it. He's got Rayum with him and elects to go the other way back to the point. Blues are set up pretty well here, except for taking so much time. Muir's out. Shot off the outside of the pad of Jocelyn Tebow.
But a great move by Jimmy Campbell. I mean, we've already mentioned that he looks more assertive than I've seen him in about a whole season. And that's what sitting out 4 games will do. That was Campbell that stepped out in front. He was dragged down, but still got his shot away.
Maybe a significant kill for Chicago. Their much maligned penalty killing. So they're 9 for their last 9. They went 8 for 8, the penalty killing, against the Islanders in their 1-1 tie. And that's the best home power play in the NHL. So we'll see.
Yeah, what compounds the situation for Chicago is not only do they take so many penalties, but when you're ranked down near the bottom in penalty killing efficiency, it's a double whammy.
Kept in momentarily, and the puck goes out of play and into the crowd. We check in with John Butchergrass. John.
Steve, we have an Alexander Daig sighting in Philly. Doesn't score, but he helps sets up Mark Gregg, who scores his first NHL goal since the 94-95 season right there. Colin Forbes got the first one, 2-0 Philly against the Islanders.
Well, you said it right, John. An Alexander Daig sighting. There have not been that many Alexander Daig sightings in Philadelphia. He has been doghouse press box material all season long.
John's coming up with Barry Melrose, NHL Tonight, immediately following our game. Grant Fuhr, first time in his St. Louis Blues career, he's been healthy and has been out for consecutive games. This is actually the 3rd consecutive start made by Jamie McLennan. The shutout over Vancouver, and then he was in a 1-0 loss here, a 1-0 loss against the Rangers, in which you only got to face 10 shots. Here's Yake for the Blues, skating 5-on-5. Nice move, gets himself some space. Cross pass. Shot is stopped. The stick save easily by Thibault. As Rayom is in the battle for it, Yawny stands him up for Chicago. They're 2-on-2 along the wall. And it finally worked out for Kilger. And the Hawks come to center. Doug Gilmour has got a pair of goals in the first 6.5 minutes of the game, in case you're joining us late. And if so, don't let that happen again. Here's Laflamme. Crosses the red line, he'll shoot in, wide of the cage. Pronger is back for it. Holds up his man, that's Nelson Emerson, but that allows Probert to come over. Conroy on him. How about a size mismatch there? Those two players battle back behind the net. And Chicago able to come away.
Yeah, they came away because they had the support. In every instance, when a Chicago guy got the puck, oh, good save there by McLennan. Every time a Chicago player got the puck, there was a St. Louis guy there, and then a Chicago guy to support.
White backhand shot stopped by McLennan with Probert in front on the traffic.
This is why I like this line. They do everything well in the offensive zone.
Blocked in front, and it looks like Brian Helmer, the block, and he'll get the whistle. 4:03 to go here in the first, and the Blues find themselves trailing by a pair. Here in St. Louis, the Blues will finish off tonight's game and then get set to depart on a 5-game road trip that will start Saturday night in Pittsburgh. They have not been particularly good on the road, but neither have the Blackhawks, the worst road team in the NHL.
That is if these teams can get out of here either tonight or tomorrow, because it is supposed to be nasty.
Face off inside the St. Louis zone. You know, we have not seen obviously every Chicago period this season. But this might be one of their best of the entire season.
Yeah, you're right.
Shot from the angle. That one nearly went in. Eddie Olczyk. And that seems to be the strategy. Just fire from anywhere.
You know, you have to be sharp as a defenseman in the NHL, and we're going to show why in our pre-play. It involves when you change and when you go to the bench. In a first period scenario, your bench is actually nice and close to you. So you get it to the yellow area. You got a pretty big area to get the puck into. Now, if we went to a different game, and this was the second period, your bench is the far bench, so your element of error is small. You got to get the puck in deeper before you go to change, because if you get caught on the change, something bad's going to happen. So that's why, as a defenseman, second periods are the periods where you got to be smart.
Blues get to it. Look to come away. It's approached 3.5 to play in this first period. A first period that normally the St. Louis Blues own. No one scored more first period goals in the NHL than the Blues. And tonight they're being held off the board so far, under 3.5 to go.
They haven't really had many fantastic opportunities. Thibault has been solid, but he hasn't had to be great. And St. Louis basically owns the first period in the NHL.
Shots are 9-7 so far. Edge to St. Louis. And of course, Chicago, the edge that counts. A 2-0 lead. All the way down. And icing is called as McInnes touches it.
How many icings is that for Chicago? About 6 or 7? Well, they've gotten themselves out of trouble. Tony Amati, if you're going to end up paired against him, how do you play him? Well, we mentioned in our open that he doesn't do it all that physically. That right there was Brad Brown showing what he can do physically. But when you got Tony Amati lined up, you try to bang him because he's not a real physical player. Our ESPN.com question tonight is, which U.S.-born winger do you think is the best, Tony Amati, John LeClair, or Keith Tkachuk? We pointed out that Amati doesn't do it like Tkachuk and LeClair. Not as big, not as strong. He relies on speed and finesse, so if you're defending against him, bang away.
That 5-game goal-scoring drought that Amonte's in the middle of, Chicago has gone 1-3-1 over those 5 games, thus illustrating how important he is to their offense. Got a number of players thrown out of the face-off circle already tonight here in the first period. That time it was Eastwood. And Dimitra Chase will take the draw for St. Louis and win it. Kelly Chase a big win. They're going wild in Porcupine Plains. Pronger wraps it around the boards. Eastwood on Kilger. And here's Chaser out ahead at center. He's on with Twist. And Twist will go to the forecheck with Brad Brown. Those two big bodies collide.
Yeah.
Chase and Muir are there.
Are they going to go here? Because Brad Brown's a tough guy, too.
Blues get to it. Back to the point. Pronger shot, score! Might have got on off Daze's stick, but the Blues are on the board. It's 2-1.
A bonus goal and a good job by what is really considered to be the muscle and the fourth line of the St. Louis Blues. Good pass back to Pronger, who just let it rip. I think there might have been a screen on Thibault. Kelly Chase or Mike Eastwood, it was one of those two guys that made the pass, and Pronger just let it rip. I don't know if it was deflected or not, I don't think so, but Pronger got it all. He just ripped that by Thibault. Thibault might have been a little deep in the net, I don't know. Maybe it did tip. Oh yeah, it sure did. It might have even been tipped twice, yep.
Saw Daze shaking his head. That could just be for being on the ice for a goal against, or that it might have gone in off his stick accidentally. But either way, it's 2-1. See, we told you the Blues are a great first period scoring team, and now they're on the board. Chris Pronger gets the goal. His 6th from Eastwood and Chase at even strength, and the key Chase face-off win sets it up.
Yep, absolutely. Well, here's the shot, and oh yeah, it was going wide. And that was Eric Daze that was standing in front. All you got to try to do is get out of the way, but I'm not sure Daze saw that shot coming cleanly because he looked like he was tucked in behind a couple of players.
Daze, another of the many Chicago Blackhawks who have struggled offensively. Just 1 goal in his last 11 games, and making matters worse, that's his only point in those 11 games. And
that's something, and he is one of the guys that Dirk Graham has said has just been very frustrating. Young guys, they're big, they've got size. Eric Daze will look like an all-star player. So will Chad Kilger one night. And then 4 or 5 games, you just don't hear from them or see them. And it's not about producing. It is about competing hard every game.
Ethan Moreau, another player you could put in that category. He is out of the Chicago lineup tonight, out with what they're calling assorted bumps and bruises. So that could be anything.
So it could be a sore coach.
Yeah. Icing is called. They'll bring it back down inside the Chicago zone. The 1998 Winter X Games. I believe we'll call them the 1999 Winter X Games. They begin January 16th from Colorado on ESPN, and here on ESPN2, America's premier extreme sports extravaganza is back this year. The best extreme athletes in the world take part in a number of events, all vying for X Games gold. Watch all the X Games action on ESPN and ESPN2. You know, you're still writing 98 on some of your checks.
Oh, yeah. Yep, I pay cash.
Face-off. Won by the Blues. Jesus gets to it for St. Louis as they look for the great equalizer here in the latter stages of period number 1. Been a pretty eventful period. You're never sure about Chicago, and they get a couple of goals from Doug Gilmour in the first 6.5 minutes of the game. Bergevin's backcourt for the Blues. Avoids the hit from Bob Probert, made the play, but it's kept in and just wide. And Bergevin recovers, takes the carom off the end board, avoids another hit, and it's moved ahead at center. Here's Jesus, plays it nicely off his skate, centering feed, and just shot wide by Pavel Dimitra. Had the far side as Thibault was going across.
You know what, Steve? I'm not sure he had very much. It was an interesting shot selection for Dimitra, because instead of going to the side of the net that was nearest to him, he went back to the far side And I think Tebow might have taken away most of his options.
Amonte shot blocked. Rebound Karens to Zhamnov. His shot wide of the net. On with Eddie Olczyk. Rivers gets to it. He's hammered by Amonte, and the puck out of play and into the crowd.
But you won't get a better setup than that one from Jesus. What a super play by Jesus to gain the zone. I mean, here he is here with the transition, but watch this move right there. See, Chris Chelios really got caught flat-footed because of the turnover. Oh, what a pass. Look at Tebow, though. He was down in the butterfly perfectly, taking away the heart of the net. Now, I credit that Dimitra miss to Tebow. And there is Jesus who made the good play. And this kid is pretty good defensively. He's very strong. I think you will see Michael Jesus around the NHL for a lot of years.
That Slovakian line that Bill talked of before, Dimitra, Jesus, and Barteko, they've got 23 points in their last 9 games. So as a unit, they have really put it together. Jesus, second among NHL rookie forwards in ice time, so they've handed him some responsibility as well.
Remember, Barteko and Jesus are both rookies, but it helps having a veteran like Dimitra that is a Slovakian native to play with those two guys. Not only can they communicate well, they feel more comfortable, the rookies do, and they listen to it.
Here's Scott Young for the Blues now as we hit the final minute to play in period number 1. Right in front, Olczyk, nice pass. And McLennan came way out to cover it up, and now players come together really for the first time tonight.
Wow, check this out. Jamie McLennan, in trying to swing back and get the puck, snapped his stick into. You know, another goal. I think I would have expected to see Grant Fuhrer had another goal gone in, because Jamie McLennan, I think, is still trying to find himself in this hockey game. However, he's only got 47 seconds to go to get out of this first period, and he may be okay.
Back in the final minute, period number 1, Chicago a 2-1 lead over the Blues. Face off to the left of Jamie McLennan, affectionately nicknamed Noodles. At least I think it's affectionate. Here's Eastwood and across the line. Gilmore, good back check by Doug Gilmore. Right to Tebow, and a late whistle with none of the Blues around him.
Yeah, it's okay to be aggressive, but when you get out of your net a little too far, boy, you're in no man's land. And McLennan plays differently than Tebow. Here's his last sequence that was down in McLennan's end. He went for the poke check, and see how he slid out of the net? Then coming around, he swung his stick around and snapped it over Pearson's leg. Ricard Pearson was coming back to help out. Watch McLennan swing around here with a stick. Ouch! Got me right in the leg. But take it easy. You don't even have the puck under you.
34 and 6/10 of a second left in period number 1. Back to McInnes. Look out! Shot. Looked like he hit his own man. Campbell in front, and he flattened Tebow, who only now is getting up off the ice. Delayed penalty coming up. What a sequence that was. Here's Daze. Shoots it wide for Jansen. Try to center. Broken up. Rayom gets to it, and we touch for the penalty call now with 16 and 3/10 of a second left.
I'm anxious to see what this call is, because Terry Gregson, for at least 2 seconds after the original crunch, wasn't going to call anything. But you could tell that the Hawks thought there was interference, because Christian Laflamme, number 3, watch this, bottom of your screen, number 10 in white. Oh, see, he backed in. Now, Laflamme, number 3, see his arms out, standing in front. He is yelling at Terry Gregson, saying, hey, I didn't push him. See Laflamme on the right? And you know what? Gregson bought it, and I think he should have. Jimmy Campbell just kept his going, kept the momentum going, and Laflamme didn't help him on top of Tebow at all.
And you could say he's skating backwards. Maybe he doesn't know where the goalie is. He knows where the goalie is.
You got it? Well, you know what? Whether he doesn't or not, ignorance is no excuse out there.
Campbell for goalie interference at 1943. Blocked and broken up nicely by St. Louis and Michael Jesus.
You know, I can tell you that Joel Quenneville is probably saying, listen, we'll kill this off, because if Jimmy Campbell was playing that aggressively, I'm liking it.
And they will start period number 2 with a significant power play of 1:43 for the Chicago Blackhawks. After 1, the Hawks a 2-1 lead over the Blues. The ESPN News Network after this. 43 mark of the first period. Giveaway. Emerson for Gilmore. Cross for Emerson. Back to Gilmore as they look to set it up. Cross ice. Chelios has. Shot deflected wide. Amonte gets to it. Chelios again tries to feed out to the point. It's broken up. And Emerson, as he was taken down, somehow managed to keep the puck in the zone. McGinnis gets to it, slaps at it, and Chelios can't hold it that time. Chelios in the first minute of period number 2. Off the glass and out of the zone, smartly by Chris Pronger. Here's Michael Handzus. Has Eastwood with him. Long shot. Tebow appeared to struggle with it for a moment, but able to make the stop. Giveaway now in front. Blues trying to capitalize. Short-handed. But finally, Chicago to the working away.
Great recovery by Handzus and Mike Eastwood, because it looked like they were both trapped, and Chicago was going to have an odd man rush, but they never got it started because of the good recovery.
Backhander by Olczyk was broken up before it ever reached the net. Rolls up for Brian Muir. Off for Gilmore. Gilmore, nice behind the back pass. Let's work back to Muir at the point for Olczyk. Rolled on him and tipped out nicely by Eastwood to center.
Well, if you saw the length of Mike Eastwood's stick, you know why he gets a lot of the pucks. That was a perfect example of why it's great at certain times to play when you're a defensive player with a long stick. Doug Gilmore doesn't have that long a stick, but he's got 2 goals. We looked moments ago at his first goal. Here's the second one. A good play by Eddie Olczyk here along the boards. But look how far away Doug Gilmore is when Eddie Olczyk redirects. This is how fast this game is and how much ice you can cover in about a second, because Doug Gilmore beat everybody to the puck. He got some help because that deflected off the stick of number 7, Ricard Persson, and Doug Gilmore got both Chicago goals in the first period. You can see, though, St. Louis did well statistically except on the scoreboard. I mean, they had more shots on goal, more scoring chances, pretty well dominated on the faceoffs.
Power play is over. Campbell is out after serving his second minor already of this hockey game, and we're back to 5 aside. 2 minutes into period number 2. Rivers is crunched as he released, just got it across the line. Daze right back out for White. Pass was broken up by Dimitra, and the Blues look to come back the other way. It's a delayed offside. Now they do blow the whistle. 17:46 to go here in the second.
Remember, if you haven't voted yet, you still got time. We'll tell you what the tally looks like later in this hockey game, but our ESPN.com question looks like this: who is the best winger amongst U.S.-born players? Tony Amati of the Hawks, John LeClair of the Philadelphia Flyers, and Keith Tkachuk of the Phoenix Coyotes. ESPN.com gets you there.
Of course, Amati comes into tonight tied with John LeClair for first in the NHL in goals. Tkachuk is 17, but again, he's been banged up and had some injury problems cutting down his games, or else you figure he'd be up there as well.
John LeClair is playing tonight, but he hasn't been able to bulge the twine yet either. Tony Amati doesn't have anything here.
I believe Eric Lindros was to return to the Flyer lineup tonight as well as they play against the Islanders. Rolled in front of the net. Young could not get to it. Now recovers nicely. Back to the point. Big shot blocked by Tebow. Good shot there from the point position by Brian Helmer of St. Louis. And he's back for the touch of the icing, and they'll bring it down into the Chicago end.
You know, Doug Gilmore is a huge influence when he plays on a hockey team because he is such a terrific leader, but he also understands the game. And Doug Gilmore went to Chicago with a rookie head coach behind the bench. That was Dirk Graham. Doug Gilmore talked to Dirk Graham after the first few weeks of the season and said, you know, we might want to think of developing a little better defensive system, because Dirk Graham's mentality was typical Chicago Blackhawks mentality. Forecheck, forecheck, forecheck. What Doug Gilmore pointed out to Dirk Graham was this: one pass was beating 2 players. That doesn't happen nearly as much, and that's why Joel Quenneville, the St. Louis coach, thinks this team is better defensively than they were earlier in the year.
And I credit the coach Graham for being smart enough to allow himself to listen to a player.
Absolutely.
You could see how some coaches might say, hey, I'm the coach, we'll do it my way, and Graham did not elect to go that route.
Dirk Graham is one of those great guys that really doesn't have much of an ego, so he's, you know, it's not my way or the highway, and it shouldn't be. Dirk Graham realizes he's on the steep side of the learning curve. Just a great person and a great player during his career, and a smart guy, so he was certainly smart enough to know that he could learn from Doug Gilmore.
Of course, down at the other end, the other head coach is real popular here in St. Louis, and in fact, he's celebrating a bit of an anniversary tonight. 2 years ago tonight, Joel Quenneville made his NHL debut as head coach for the Blues. By the way, it was a 5-2 home loss to the Oilers.
But happy anniversary,
Yeah,
Joel.
right.
And there aren't many coaches that can say they've had a second anniversary in the same city.
You're right.
Not in today's NHL.
Not in today's all sports. It's
Yeah.
amazing. What a tough job. I want no part of coaching. Not that anyone's offering me a coaching job, by the way.
Still can't believe the Eagles fired Ray Rhodes.
So darn special teams in Philadelphia. We will step out. 16:49 left here in period number 2. Perfect timing as we get set to drop the puck. And they do to the left of Jocelyn Thibault. One by Chicago. Eric Daze will get to it. His pass a good one, but they could not clear the zone. And Laflamme has to chase for Chicago. Off for Chris Chelios. And Pronger will shoot it right back the other way. Laflamme run into immediately by Pavel Dimitrov. Chelios looks to wrap it around the boards. Could not be kept in by Helmer. And Pronger races back for it. Daze immediately on him to play the body. Chelios the other way for Chicago, and he'll shoot in. Barteco at center. Couldn't get around Chelios. Tried to make the pass to Handzus. Chelios is all over the ice on this particular shift for the Hawks.
And all of a sudden, this game is being played between the blue lines and along the wall. That tells you that it's clamping down time. Both teams are doing it. Look at this. It hasn't left the wall here for about the last 30 seconds. Here it is around the wall.
It comes up. Right back down as he's trying to cycle it down low, and they can't clear it. Playing the perimeter. Nearly came in front for White, but he couldn't reach it, and it shot just over the Blackhawks bench and into the crowd.
Well, these teams are both about to enter crucial stretches for themselves in this National Hockey League season because their road records are not very good. The St. Louis Blues, you can see a decided advantage at home. After tonight, 9 of the next 10 games for Joel Quenneville's St. Louis Blues are on the road. The Chicago Blackhawks, the worst road record in the NHL at 3-12-2. Tuesday night on Long Island was the first of 12 games of 15 that Chicago would play on the road. So this is going to be like a defining stretch of about 25 to 30 days and a bunch of games for both of these teams that will either keep them afloat or really, in Chicago's case, bury them. And maybe never to be heard from again in a playoff picture, or St. Louis might move them out of the elite in the West.
Oh, high stick. Accidental, but a high stick nonetheless. Rivers got his stick up on White, and he goes down in a penalty upcoming.
Terry Gregson skating over to check the damage. What's the damage here? Todd White wears a visor, but it only covers down to about his nose. And it looked like he got it in the yap, got it in the mouth. Yep, didn't look like it was that hard, but he made contact up high. Jamie Rivers actually got beat by a real good pass. Oh, no, that was worse than the first replay. Yeah, I agree. That was a great play by Nelson Emerson because he knew that Rivers had pinched up on him, and he just banked it off the boards. I mean, Chicago's made good use of some real good plays along the boards in this game.
So the power play upcoming for Chicago with Rivers in the box for high sticking at 4:39. Third power play of the night for Chicago.
Chicago worked a lot on their power play yesterday. They had a chance to practice because they've gone 0 for 7 in their last 2 games. 1-1 tie with the Islanders and a 3-1 loss to Detroit at home. So they really worked a lot on it yesterday. Let's see what happens here.
They're pretty fortunate to get that 1-1 tie. They allowed 40 shots to the Islanders.
How about 18-3 outshot in the first period? That's why I said that Jocelyn Thibault's numbers do not reflect how good he has been for Chicago.
He made 30 saves in the first 2 periods. He kept it. He gave up a goal in the first minute to Robert Reichel, and after that he was brilliant. In across the line, and it's broken up and flipped right back out. Giveaway. Blues shorthanded, and the chance by Eastwood was broken up as it rolled wide of the net. Good play by Doug Gilmour on the back check there. Gilmour looks to move it out ahead. Zhamnov, Amonte, and Chelios out there with Eric Daze filling out your 5 Chicago Blackhawks on the power play. Back to the point. Shot through a screen is deflected wide. Have Zhamnov playing 1 point, Chelios the other. Cross. There's the captain of the Hawks. Gives for Zhamnov. His shot deflected by Eastwood out of play and into the crowd. Well, folks, it's a special edition of National Hockey Night. January 23rd at 7 Eastern, the stars will shine. First, the heroes of hockey, including Darren Pang, will have at it. Then today's hero compete in the skills competition. Gretzky, Lindros, Yager, just a few to be sure. Showcase. January 23rd on your worldwide leader in sports. For the world team, the starters were named yesterday. The only question, this is by fan voting. Yui Krupp, who's not played a whole lot for Detroit in this first half,
Right.
is listed as a starter. Detroit really dominating on both squads, actually.
4 from the Western Conference and 2 from the Eastern Conference there as starters. Yager and Hasek being the 2 from the Eastern Conference.
We'll show you the North American starters that were named today in just a bit when we get an opportunity. Al McInnes, we told you earlier, he'll be one of them. That takes away somebody's surprise. And it's rolled in back behind the net of McLennan. Probert overskated a bit. Comes up along the wall again and now out of the zone. Race for the puck, but Manson will get there first. The 22 in red beating the 22 in white. Back the other way. There's 22 white. That's Craig Conroy. He's checked by Manson. Those two go hard to the glass. Nelson Emerson is there to pick it up. And the power play is over. Able to kill it off. Chicago now 0 for 3 on the power play. How many shots with the man advantage? The big 0. And a power play coming up now. Rivers, who was just released from the box, went down. And it looks like the Blues will have the man advantage.
Steve, you mentioned the North American starters named today. Yzerman, Shanahan, Correa, Bork, Brodeur, and of course Al McInnes. And you know that Al McInnes will be playing in the All-Star game as a starter, but you know that he will be competing in the hardest shot competition. Because at last year's All-Star game in Vancouver, Al McInnes was the man.
Again, a second chance.
And Chris Chelios and Daryl Sador could only sit and laugh because Chelios had shot, and I'm sure Sador was saying, do you think it'll hold up, your 93-mile-an-hour shot? And he was probably saying, yeah, I don't think so. Not with Al McInnes stepping up.
Did they have the equipment to clock your shots back, when you played?
That was a sundial.
Do you have any idea, really? Do you have any idea how hard you shot the puck?
No.
To put that in perspective, I mean, how many other players shoot in the 90s, I wonder?
No, mine was really slow, but boy, was it ever accurate.
Probert, the penalty for holding at 6:47. I knew I was not getting a straight answer.
No, they didn't have any devices. I mean, I never saw that done. I mean, of course, I played in 1943.
Right. I remember those teams. Those were spectacular. John Butchergrass was doing the highlights back then. He's got another one. John.
Last right-wing conspiracy line. Kristich, Samsonov, and Allison, all right-handed shots. It's Kristich right there. His 17th goal of the year. The Bruins lead Toronto late, 2-1.
Hey, that's like a right-wing conspiracy right there. All right-hand shots for the Bruins. Good kick up there, John.
Got a chance to go to Maple Leaf Gardens for the final game. So a great game the other night. Tampa Bay, Leafs win in overtime in a real classic type game. Having 2 of the original 6 going at it. The Lightning and the Leafs. That was great. Icing called to bring it back down. Well, you'd hope for another opponent, but it happened to be a free night. A couple of boys from ESPN had never been to Maple Leaf Gardens. It was a real treat.
I was just thinking here, Steve, as you were talking about that great tilt you had a chance to see. For some reason, my mind was wandering to the ice time that Chris Pronger and Al McInnes get for the St. Louis Blues team. It's great to have 2 guys that can log this much ice time. Is it ideal? Boy, this is a marathon, this NHL season. It's not a sprint. And when you get down to crunch time and into the playoffs, boy, it's tough to play that much. I think St. Louis would like a little more depth in the blue line, so they may be in the trade market when everybody gets healthy. When, if and when.
They go 1-4. Leach and Bork are 2-3 in ice time around the NHL. All defensemen. McInnes shot deflected up high. I don't think it was touched with a high stick. And that's why the whistle is blown, and they'll bring the face-off outside of the Chicago zone. Let's go back to John Butchergrass. John.
Hello again, Steve. This time we go to Nashville, the Sharks and the Preds. On the power play, Jan Volpat. 5th goal of the year. Hatchingham and Johnson also get some helpers. Goes past Mike Vernon, 1-0 Nashville.
Well, number 1 in ice time tonight is John Butchergrass. A busy guy. There's lots going on. I think goal scoring is starting to climb. That's why John's a busy guy doing a good job back there for us. Here it's turned into kind of a defensive struggle. 2-1 Chicago with 12:15 to go in the second. And the way this game started, and as much jump as Chicago had, and you know that St. Louis usually has good first periods, I thought, here we go. We're in for a 5-4 end-to-ender, but it's pretty well quieted down since then.
And we haven't seen any of the rough stuff that we really anticipated with Chicago dressing DB Bonvie and Reed Simpson tonight.
He's only been out, what, twice?
Maybe once for Simpson.
Yeah.
And Chase and Twist have gotten a couple of shifts. Well, Chaser had a big assist on that first St. Louis goal. You're going to see that 100 times on NHL tonight. And Barry's going to telestrate all over that, I guarantee. That's coming up after our game here on ESPN2. Here's Campbell. Spirited first period out of Jimmy Campbell. Trying to work away from Chris Chelios for Young. 23 seconds left in the man advantage for St. Louis. Rayon for Young. One-timer shot stopped, and it's loose momentarily. And Thibault able to smother it with Campbell right there.
He was right there. Jim Campbell was trying to set up a screen. And Jimmy Campbell's even willing to step into the trenches and take a beating in front. And when you're out there with Chris Chelios, you're going to get banged around. That's Campbell in front, waiting. Scott Young moved it over for the one time. Look at the screen Campbell set up. A beauty. A beauty. I mean, I have no idea how Thibault saw that. Watch. Oh, what a great job by Thibault. I was expecting this replay to show Thibault leaning, decidedly to one side, but he didn't, and he still saw it. The problem when the screen is in front of you for a goaltender is if you lean too much to try to see the shot coming, you've exposed the entire other side of the net and trying to see it coming, and if it goes there, you're toast. So a lot of goalies will just protect the majority of the net and go down into the butterfly, whether they see the play or not.
Pearson out of the corner. The defenseman trying to get through. He was put down on the ice. Crowd wanting a penalty. Won't get the call from Terry Gregson. Player is out of the box, and it was Bob Probert. He leveled Terry Yake, and it looks like Probert will go.
Yeah, Brad Brown's arguing this. Bob Probert is kind of a marked man because of his history in this league. But boy, oh boy, that was a terrific hit, and it didn't look like he was stepping into it. Bob Probert didn't like it, but he's learned not to argue too much these days. Well, on the left of your screen, you will see this wipeout by number 24, Bob Probert on Terry Yake. Probert wasn't striding, he was gliding, and he kept his arms down. This call was elbowing, but Probert's so big he kept his arm tucked in. I feel for Bob Probert. I still think his reputation sometimes influences not just Terry Gregson, but every ref. I mean, we saw Don Kowarski call one on him against Detroit on Sunday night in a game that we did. That, poor big Bob Probert. He just plays the game kind of straight these days and still makes it to the sin bin.
The elapsed time on that play was 10 seconds. Probert came fresh from the penalty box for holding. And 10 seconds after his first penalty expired, he's back in the box at 8:57. Third power play of the night for St. Louis, and we'll see if they can convert and get the tying goal here.
That's obviously why Terry Yake didn't see him coming, because he came out of the penalty box. But, this is the thing that's frustrated the Hawks, and I don't know. I talked to Brian Lewis, head of officials, before the game, and he said, no, we review all the different things. We review all the referees. We look at so much tape, and we did so especially for Chicago in their situation. And some of the points that they made up, or that they brought up, said just weren't that valid. So I know the Hawks might feel victimized, but here's my problem. When you've got management saying things like that, and Bob Murray, the GM, has said that as well. Even if 2 or 3 of your players get this victim attitude that you're being victimized, the victim mentality to me does not match up with the winning mentality. And you give a few of your players an excuse to lose because victims expect that destiny is losing for them. And I don't think it's a good idea. If you want to complain, do it privately to the league.
At center now, here is Chicago. Trying to kill it off. They are shorthanded as the Blues look to set up the power play. Right back in. Manson will shoot it deeper. Gets to Daze. Throws it in front. Pronger there. And St. Louis will now look to set it up. Young in across the line. Leaves for Eastwood now. Eastwood out there with Campbell. Campbell has the puck. And Young, they fill out your forward lines. McKinnis and Pronger the point. Shot from Pronger. Kick save. Thibault. He went down. He could be hurt. His helmet is popped off, it looked like.
Boy, did he ever get wiped out. Scott Young was coming through the crease and nailed him from behind. Scott Young didn't have much room. I don't think Scott Young went after him intentionally. If he did, that's really unlike Scott Young. But Young was just trying to get out front. I don't think there was enough room between the Hawks defenseman and Thibault for Scott Young to miss everybody. Here's the shot. See, there's Scott Young coming through while he was actually being tripped up. Maybe his stick, while Brian Muir was tripping him up, hit Thibault in the back of the head. Coming from the left of the screen. You bet. See, Brian Muir kind of chopped Scott Young, skates out from under him, and as he was going over Thibault, Scott Young whacked Thibault in the back of the head. Now, on the back of that mask, there's a pad that protects the round part of the back of your head, but below that, it's just neck. It may be neck too. You see how he's flexing his neck? Now that had to hurt.
Thibault, for the second time, banged up tonight. Remember, Jim Campbell ran him over as he backed into him, and now
you know what? What else hit him there? Did Scott Young's skate not hit him there too?
I thought it was a skate.
It hit him. He got him with the stick, and then it's hard for me to tell. Well, watch Scott Young's skate here. No, the skate got him in the ribs. The stick got him in the back of the head. Jocelyn Thibault's helmet, you know, his mask isn't very tight. That game we did Sunday night in Chicago against the Red Wings, he just tried to make a save, and because he kind of threw his body across the goal crease, his mask flew off then, because he doesn't have that thing very tight.
Thibault in the 8th consecutive start. He came over in that blockbuster deal with the Montreal Canadiens back on November 16th. A 6-player deal which involved some big names. Eric Weinrich was widely considered as the second best defenseman on Chicago behind Chris Chelios. He was moved. And there you see Brad Brown, Thibault, and Manson coming over to Chicago, and Jeff Hackett, despite his numbers, despite a recent injury, the NHL Player of the Week.
Player of the Week. And Brad Brown, the guy in the top right, is the surprise of the trade, because he was just riding the pine in Montreal, and they didn't have much. Obviously, they were willing to let him go, and Chicago said, well, we'll go for him. And Brad Brown's been a pretty good surprise here for Chicago.
He's a fun player to watch.
He sure is.
I think the fans in Chicago will fall in love with this guy.
And I think because he's a fun guy to watch, he's also a fun guy to coach for Dirk Graham.
Roll down. 45 seconds of power play time remaining on the second consecutive penalty to Bob Probert. McInnes, bit of a stutter step. It looked like Jansen's might have got his stick up high on McInnes. Yake gets to it. He's okay after being bombarded by the Probert freight train. And he has the puck. Off the boards and working to the points. McInnes, some Pronger play catch. McInnes lets it go. And that's a dangerous play to block it. But Mark Jansen's seems okay.
Purple heart to Jansen's right away.
Well, even through your shin pad.
Oh,
you got to feel that.
Yep.
Here's Yake now looking to set it up. Poked away nicely. Good play by Eddie Olczyk to break up that play. And the final seconds will tick off the second consecutive Probert penalty. And Bob will look to stay out of the box. Can he make it all the way across? Nearly went after the player, McInnes, and could have found himself back in the penalty box, but he made it safely to the bench. Here's Pellerin, who's been on a scoring tear lately for St. Louis. Yake gets to it, skating 5 aside. Steve Levy, Bill Clement, and our fine National Hockey Night crew with you from Kiel Center in St. Louis tonight. Here's Tony Amonte, cuts to the middle. Amonte shot, stopped, glove save, and a beauty. Best save of the night by Jamie McLennan to keep it a 2-1 game. And it's sent back inside the St. Louis zone as Jamie Rivers touches up. Icing is called. 8:19 to go here in the second. A penalty-filled and check-filled period for Bob Probert of the Hawks.
And there was kind of blockage because there was a screen set up to McLennan's right. But Tony Amonte, it almost looked like Jamie McLennan was waiting for that one. Good shot, but Jamie McLennan ate it up. Good save.
McLennan has been really spectacular on home ice. A goals against of 1.68 here at Kiel. You'd think his record would be better. He's only 6-4-1 with that great goals against. Thibault able to make that stop. Penalty coming up against Chicago. Delayed call as the puck goes to the corner. McLennan out of the net now. Or nearly a second penalty as Brad Brown leaped into his player to finish off the check. But the Blues to the power play when we come back. But first, here's John Butchergrass.
Steve, let's go down to the honky tonk. check out Nashville and San Jose. Last time we left you, 1-0 Preds. And Joe Murphy, as the Dixie Chicks sing, wide open spaces. He ties the game 1-1 in the second.
All right, John, we'll see you on NHL tonight immediately following the game.
Sharks and Predators. Now that stacks up in name alone to be a real aggressive tilt. Shot here from the point. See that save by Jocelyn Thibault? Underrated. Penalty was right in front, obstruction. So Chicago now has committed their 4th minor penalty, 4th power play for St. Louis. Chicago's had 3, so St. Louis is ahead on the power plays. And that has been the story. 9 consecutive games for Chicago where the opposition has had more power plays than they have.
Heading into this one, we told you the second most penalized team, the second most penalty minutes, second most time shorthanded in the league, second most power play goals allowed in the entire NHL. So you wonder, is it coincidence? Is it the way the Blackhawks play the game? I mean, let's not necessarily put it on the officials on the ice. Maybe that's the way Chicago plays the game. I guess the other side of that is you'd think after a while these things would even out, and it hasn't to this point.
Well, over the years, I've seen some pretty undisciplined players come through Chicago's organization, too, so I think that's part of it. Chicago plays an aggressive style. They've always wanted a big forecheck. They've always wanted to be a tough in-your-face kind of team, so that doesn't help them either. But the majority of it is discipline. It's not retaliating. It's not taking dumb penalties.
Swept around. Power play is ongoing for St. Louis. And we told you the Blues power play, 3rd in the league. It's just a matter of time, Bill, before they click for a home power play goal. We get the whistle there as the puck shot out of play.
Chicago Blackhawks, 23 out of 38 games, they've been penalized more than their opponents. And in the last 9, that also holds true. But get this, in their last 9 games coming into tonight's action, the opposition has had 57 power plays to Dirk Graham's 33. That's 24 more kills for these guys in the last 9 games than the opposition, which averages almost 3 penalty kills per game.
That's huge.
Well, yeah, if you think you're going to get maybe 1 goal out of those 3 on some nights, that is enough in today's NHL to win a hockey game, or for Chicago, in their case, to lose a hockey game.
The Hawks finished in the top 5 in penalty minutes for 9 straight seasons before last year. They softened up just a bit. They only tied for 13th, but they're back at it again this season as they came in ranked number 2nd, second most. Great pass. In for Young. Shot. Score! Scott Young. And there it is, your power play goal to tie the game.
Well, Scott Young had a great chance in the first period, right in front of Jocelyn Thibault. So he had to be saying, look, I am due. I got to get it. But the one thing is, when you're a man short, you can't let that forward that always parks up ice, and that is what Young did. You can't let him get in behind you. Pronger knew he had Young, but you saw Pronger make a smart play by waiting till he got over his blue line to avoid the 2-line pass offside, and then Scott Young let it rip. His 6th goal of the season. Good execution, but that's taboo. You know Scott Young is there. You can't let him find the seam and get him behind you.
Great pass by Pronger on the play, and maybe if you want to give the benefit of the doubt, Jocelyn Thibault, maybe he's still dazed just a bit from being banged into and having his helmet knocked off. That only happened moments prior. Inside the St. Louis zone, Nelson Emerson gets to it for Chicago in a 2-2 game. Remember, the Blackhawks opened up a 2-0 lead on a pair of Doug Gilmour goals in the first 6.5 minutes. And the Blues have rallied to tie it. Young, his 6th from Pronger, a power play goal at 12:51. A power play like St. Louis's, a penalty kill unit like Chicago, we just can't give them that many opportunities, and St. Louis finally able to click. What a pass by Pronger.
Great pass. I mean, he's an underrated offensive player. He's so terrific defensively. He doesn't assert himself that much offensively. And here we go, another penalty.
White was taken down for Chicago, and it looks like it'll go against the Blues.
So, Steve, I looked down and saw Bob Probert, and I said, oh, not Bob Probert again. Well, Jamie Rivers looks like the guy that is going to head to the sin bin. One more look at the goal that Scott Young scored. See him at the top of the screen, getting him behind Christian Laflamme. He is dead center, but you got to know he's coming across. Did that go? I think it went under Tebow's glove, did it not? But it was rolling and it handcuffed him, it looked like. Oh, that's a pretty good acting job by Todd White. You know that? And that's why Jamie Rivers was, that's why he's still sitting there shaking his head. Diving is now penalized, but if you make it look good enough, it doesn't look like a dive. So kneeing is what it was called on Rivers.
13:45 is the time of the penalty. Fourth power play for Chicago. And St. Louis has had 4 power plays. Of course, they just scored on theirs. Chicago 0 for 3. They'd like a power play shot before they get a power play goal. Hard hit behind the net. Conroy was run into by Zhamnov there. Nice move by Zhamnov to come out of the zone.
Great zone. He caught Conroy. Oh, and then two Hawks bang into one another at the blue line because of Zhamnov's great move. Had caught a penalty killer, but they couldn't do anything with it.
Tebow will stop it for Chelios. And looks to move it ahead. Here's Chelios at center. He'll shoot in. Chelios will come over to the right. Zhamnov will move over to the left point. But it won't matter much if Chicago can't keep it in the zone. And St. Louis able to clear. Eastwood at center. Met immediately by Chelios. Zhamnov able to help out as well. Good penalty killing here by Mike Eastwood. He's had a pretty good game tonight.
Good penalty killing, but you know, you've mentioned Zhamnov's name a couple of times on this power play for Chicago, but how many other times 5-on-5 have we really noticed Alexei Zhamnov tonight? Not very often.
Gilmore down low, centering feed, a bit too hard for Brian Muir to handle. And it's Manson for Chicago.
And for that matter, Tony Amati has been quiet. He had the one good scoring chance moments ago, but St. Louis done a pretty good job on him.
Old check, force it in deeper. Pronger there to run in the Prober. A couple of big boys get together there. Coming up on 15 seconds left in the power play, and the Blues able to clear. We've got coming up on 4 minutes left in the second period, and Chris Pronger is already over 22 minutes of playing time. He figures to go well above his average, which is right around the 30-minute mark.
Wow.
Here's Rivers now. Fresh from the box. Centering feed. In front, and Pellerin couldn't get his stick down. And Pellerin cross-check to the ice by Muir. No call there. Rebound loose, and Tebow will cover up. A great flurry of action in front of the Chicago goal. 3:57 to go. Here in the second, Deuces are wild on the deuce.
In Nashville, the 5th goal of the period. Game tied, 2-2, and Brian Marchment surfing the net. www.32sharks.com. Steven.
We'll let you know. It's coming up on the ESPN News Network on the new Dodge Intermission Report.
I don't know. My guess is he may be retiring.
You know, we just put that in as a tease. That's not necessarily so.
I said my guess. Strictly a guess.
You have inside. I know you're big in the Big East, Bill.
You can't get anything by me. Oh, I'm really big. Oh, here we go.
Gloves are dropped. It's Tony Twist in white, Dennis Bonvie in red.
Guess what? Dennis Bonvie, he rope-a-doped. Bonvie rope-a-doped like I'm not going to fight. And then he dropped his gloves and decided he wanted to try and get a couple of good ones in on Tony Twist. But Tony Twist is way stronger. Bonvie is fearless. Check this out. They're just waiting for the haymaker. Hey, they're not trying to win on points. They want to knock each other out. They're going for the haymakers, especially Twist. And when Tony Twist jacks you the way he's doing, he can really jack you around. Oh, man. See how Bonvie's a smart fighter, though. You know, he kept his head turned, and because Twist was coming with the haymakers, they were telegraphed in time for Bonvie to kind of turn away from the punch when it was coming. Big Tony Twist, he wants to see it.
Well, nice segue from what just took place here on the ice to Friday Night Fights. That's presented by Budweiser at 9 o'clock from Foxwoods Resort Casino. The tradition of championship bouts and top-rated challenges continue with a new twist. Classic fight footage on ESPN2's Friday Night Fights. This one's classic footage all about Mike Tyson. We also see a 10-round super middleweight bout. Vinny Pazienza against Andra White.
This is how this one started. Bonvie went at Twist. Look at Bonvie. See, It almost looked like he said, no, and then dropped his gloves and tried to get a quick one in. This is when Bonvie got smart right here. And to see him ducking the punches, Tony Twist was missing with most of those. And because he was turned around, he couldn't give him the uppercut either.
Bonvie could lose and I think still get a lot of respect from around the NHL to have the guts to take on a guy like Tony Twist. But Bonvie is no angel. This is a man who set the AHL record for most penalty minutes in a season back in 96-97 for Hamilton. How about 522 PIMs? 522, you have to work. That's not tripping and interference, Bill.
No, it isn't.
They each get 5 for fighting at 16:06.
A lot of manslaughter thrown in there with the minor penalties.
There's a great story. A European player came to St. Louis Blues training camp, walked into the locker room for the first time, and saw Tony Twist undressed. It was the first player he saw from the NHL, and he goes, I cannot play in this league. Thinking that every NHL player looks like Tony Twist. That would be a scary thought in itself. Back behind the net, Brad Brown is on it, Pavel Demitra, each getting 5 apiece for fighting. And bringing this crowd back to life here in St. Louis. Turnaround shot off a skate in front of the skate of Brown. Gilmore, neat little fake to get away from a check there. He recovers. Up for Reed Simpson. Still got some heavyweights on the ice, and there they are as Chase bumps with Simpson. Here's Kilger trying to make the move. Kilger is taken out really by himself as players come together there, and there are Simpson and Chase. We showed you in warm-ups the two had words. This time they separate.
And you know, it's so often when Tony Twist goes, Kelly Chase is right behind and vice versa. These guys are really tight. They're kind of like a Mutt and Jeff 1-2 punch. Tony Twist is the heavyweight. Kelly Chase is the middleweight. But Reed Simpson is just his game. He's the other guy he's wearing 33 in red tonight. So there's Reed Simpson. Reed Simpson and Dennis Bonvie come from that same school of not being heavyweights, but willing to mix it up with anybody. And the history goes back to earlier this season when Chase and Simpson fought, Bonvie and Twist fought. You love the old Chuck Norris division. All righty then. All righty then.
You wouldn't consider Chaser a heavyweight, but
No.
he fights a lot more than Twist because other players don't want to go after Twist. So Chase winds up fighting just about everybody.
And then that gets Tony Twist mad, and he gives it a couple of why-I-oughtas. And then you've got them both going.
As if Chase needs protection from Tony Twist. They work it along the boards. We are skating 5-on-5 with the major penalties given out. Been an eventful night already here in St. Louis with a full third period still to come. We haven't mentioned Bob Probert when talking about tough customers. Isn't that amazing?
Well, he's tough, but he doesn't really fight much anymore. So that's why you kind of leave him off the list these days. But believe me, the players out there know if you want to mess with them, you may have a big problem.
Here's Emerson put to the ice by McInnes. Todd White in there as well, and Ricard Pearson getting a rare shift. He's run into by Probert, but able to keep his balance. Blues at center now. Here's Yake. Pulls up looking for help, threw it in front, and Campbell was there, hard charging. Campbell put down behind the play. And Emerson gets it for Chicago. Out ahead, Probert couldn't get it out of his skates. Now it's knocked down momentarily, but Chicago going for a change, and that allows St. Louis to come out rather easily. Campbell's shot easily gloved by Jocelyn Thibault, and then he takes the bump from Chris Chelios, and they exchange some slashes there. Maybe Chelios and the Hawks getting tired of Campbell buzzing around their net.
Jimmy Campbell has really played a spirited hockey game. You got to respect how he has approached it. I mean, he's banged into people. He ran over Jocelyn Thibault, got a penalty for it. But this is the kind of effort that he is going to have to stay in the lineup. After sitting out 4 consecutive games, he came back and played and scored in the last tilt here a couple days ago against Vancouver. But Joel Quenneville has to be real happy with what he's seen.
Has to believe the message has been sent and received. And following the game in which Campbell scored the goal, the Monday night win, Quenneville said about Campbell from here on out, he has to make it a meaningful season. This is a guy they're counting on to score some goals.
Yeah, especially because when nobody was acquired to take up the slack of Brett Hull's departure, and Steve Duchesne was a valuable offensive guy in the power play. Remember, Jeff Courtnall led this team in goal scoring last year with 31. And we should point out right now, Jeff Courtnall has been on the sidelines now for the better part of a month with a concussion. And if he's making progress at all, it is very, very slow progress.
Here's Amonte. His pass behind a player. They'll have to backtrack. Campbell, only the 5th player in Blues history to hit 20 goals in his rookie and sophomore seasons. The others some pretty good names, including Doug Gilmour, Wayne Babbage, Nelson Emerson, and Jorgen Pettersson, the other player. Remember, he and Harry York first onto the scene for the Blues. Of course, York was traded away. And Campbell really struggling for St. Louis.
Mentioned that St. Louis has done a pretty good job on Tony Amonte, and when you do a good job on Amonte, if you can shut him down, you are shutting down a pretty decent percentage of the Chicago Blackhawks offense. Exactly 28%. That is the highest percentage of team goals for one player in the NHL. Wendell Clark of Tampa, Luc Robitaille of LA, John LeClair of the Flyers are next with 28%. That's how much Tony Amonte means to the Hawks.
If Chicago continues at their one-loss rate, and Amonte could find his way to lead the league in goals, he'd be the first to do it. Win the goal-scoring title outright on a losing team since Gage Stewart of the 45-46 Toronto Maple Leafs. He scored 37 goals. Shot from the point, blocker to side.
There aren't a lot of guys named Gay anymore, you know that?
The Leafs, by the way, were 5 games under 500. Gay being G-A-Y-E, Gay. As a hit, Hanzus involved in Kilgore. Now Chelios comes over. This all after the whistle.
Yep.
At center ice.
Chippy. Getting pretty chippy out there. See, Chris Chelios has picked up to kind of the scent of blood as he can. He's a tough customer. And when you call upon your gritty guys to stand up and be counted, that's Chris Chelios, stand-up guy.
Chelios contributing offensively as well. 6 points in this recent span. Had a 5-game point scoring streak come to an end on Tuesday in that 1-1 tie on Long Island. Coming up on the final minute to play here in period number 2. 2-2, the Hawks and the Blues. Christian Laflamme is back for it. He's right on him. Kilgore gets to it for Chicago. Checked immediately by Dimitra. Hanzus gets a stick on it. Wrapped around the boards by Laflamme. Final minute to play here in the second. Gilmour chips it out to center. A bit too far for Kilgore. Takes a good whack at the stick with Al McInnes. McInnes for Hanzus at center. Looks to hit a streaking Dimitra. Dimitra is stood up nicely there by Laflamme, and Chicago breaks it back the other way. Final half minute.
You know, the Hawks deserve a bunch of credit for the job they've done on Dimitra. We haven't really noticed him very much.
The 9th leading scorer in the NHL heading into play tonight. Here's Emerson. He was offside as Janssens was trying to get off the ice for a change. Well, the great hockey action continues for you here on ESPN2. First on Monday, the Buffalo Sabres had a pretty nice win in overtime last night here on the Deuce. In Anaheim, they'll try Phoenix on for size. And you'll see that game at 9 Eastern Monday night right here on ESPN2.
That'd be a pretty good matchup. I mean, those are a couple of teams. You have to put Buffalo in the elite of the East now, I think, with Philadelphia and New Jersey. They're just too consistent. And Dominik Hasek should put them there by himself. And Phoenix, really, for the first time in their existence, has to be considered one of the elite teams in the West.
You know, Bill, a credit to Dallas. I looked at the standings. For as well as Phoenix has played all season, they're still like 7 points behind the Dallas Stars, and no one after that is even close.
No, that tells you how strong Dallas is.
The horn sounds, ending period number 2. Chicago had a 2-0 lead. St. Louis has tied this baby up. Should be a good third. We'll have it for you right after the ESPN News Network.
One. I don't know, the way this game has gone, you'd think that a power play might decide the outcome of this one.
Period number 3 underway, and here we go. Blues in the home white uniforms. The Blackhawks in the road red. Dimitra is greeted immediately by Christian Laflamme. Rolls around back behind the net. Chelios takes Hanzus out of the play and puts him down. Here's Dimitra spinning away from a check. On his knees makes the play and nearly popped it in front of the net. Here's Chelios still on Hanzus. Hanzus trying to come away. Does. Pops in front and got a weak shot off that was blocked. Back to the point. Helmer's shot is blocked, but it rolls free. Shot just fired wide of the net. And it's off the glass and out of the zone. Great opportunity for Mike Eastwood.
Yeah, good play by Chad Kilgore with little option. I mean, the Blues came out here and really got it cranked up. The Blues have scored fewer third-period goals than anybody in the NHL, but if they keep this energy level up, they'll be fine. Check the pressure on him. A great forecheck. Watch this move by rookie Michael Hentz, who tried to use the long reach. And just, I don't know what happened. When he finally cleared Chelios' stick, he fanned on it. They kept it alive. Hentz had the stick slashed out of his hands. Pretty good work by a bunch of young, hungry Blues. And Chicago, I wish we had tracked that. We don't usually track icing, but Chicago is starting in the first period has iced the puck a bunch.
And starting the first minute, Bill, I think we had 2 icings right in that first minute of play. And that led to a couple of pretty good chances by St. Louis.
There's Brad Brown just flipping it over the glass and into the stands. A tie wouldn't be bad for Tony Amonte and the Chicago Blackhawks because they just struggle on the road so terribly. Tony Amonte, though, is a premier player in the NHL, and he is part of our ESPN.com question tonight. Who's the best winger amongst U.S.-born players? Tony, John LeClair, Keith Tkachuk. At some point later in this period, we'll give you the results of your votes. Tony Amonte has played 13 minutes so far in this game, so he should end up close to 20.
Since we've been doing these games, these questions, that has to be one of the toughest questions, I think, since we've been doing that. Off the faceoff, shot blocked at the defense. You can really make an argument, a good argument for all three, as the puck popped off Jim Campbell's stick and into the crowd.
Yep, I'm just going to guess and say that Keith Tkachuk and John LeClair will get more votes than Tony Amonte. They've put up bigger numbers, but besides that, this league has gone to such a tight-checking league, and being a power forward that uses size and strength the way LeClair and Tkachuk do, I don't know, perhaps that is perceived to be of greater value, but I love Tony. I think Tony Amonte is the most exciting player to watch of those three.
I would agree with that. I think LeClair better be careful. If he doesn't pick up some more pins, he's going to win that Lady Byng. Last time I checked, he was under double-digit penalty minutes for a power forward. Wow.
And wouldn't that be embarrassing in Philadelphia?
You know, I bet LeClair wants no part of that Lady Byng award, as they're whistled for offside. 18:47 to go here in the third. They'll take any other award, but not the Lady Byng. And a couple of players getting together also trying to avoid the Lady Byng.
Bob Probert doesn't have to worry about that, as Dennis Bonvie comes out of the penalty box and drifts over to his side. Way to go down there, guys and girls in the truck. You really backed up that statement that Bob Probert doesn't have to worry about the Lady Byng. He's got about 7 years of penalty time in the box. There's Dennis Bonvie getting a pat in the back. What's there not to like about him? I mean, he's a gamer. To go out there and get... I think Tony Twist is the scariest fighter in the NHL. And when you've got a guy willing to go out there and tangle with him, you want to keep that guy happy by patting him on the back.
Remember, that's DB, Bill. I hate to
Oh, that's right,
correct you.
DB Bonvie. I'm sorry.
Did we explain his middle name's actually Kevin?
But DB has a ring to it, and that's what Tony Amonte wanted. And that's why he changed his name, because Tony Amonte announced yesterday, he said, I am going to change your name. Bonvie went along with it.
A stage name. Here's Probert. Wow, puts the shoulder into McInnes. Creates his own space that way. Here's Emerson, ducks away from Ricard Pearson check. Rolls back to the point. Brad Brown thought about it. He'll shoot it around. McInnes gets to it for St. Louis. We're skating 5-on-5. It only seems like a Chicago power play.
But this is the best down-low line that Chicago has. Talked about him in the first period, and they really cycle the puck and do well. If Dirk Grant can keep them together long enough, I think Nelson Emerson and Todd White and Bob Probert are going to be able to do something offensively.
Brown, the check, comes away with the puck. Able to work it free to Dave Manson, up for Amonte, and he has Zhamnov at center. Here's Alexei Zhamnov. He's one-on-one, trying to beat his man Helmer, and unable to do it. Back the other way, here's Conroy.
See the difference in the two lines? As Zhamnov got down there with Eddie Olczyk, and they're just not as good down low as that other line.
Conroy centering feed right through the crease, broken up. Here's Pronger at the point with some time and space. Rister is tipped down and away from the net. One-time shot from Young is blocked by Brian Muir. And here's Chicago in a late developing 3-on-2. It'll go to the corner. Olczyk there on the forecheck, can't get to it. St. Louis able to get it right back out of the zone. Here's Manson. A little tricky pass from Dave Manson behind the back, able to work ahead to center. So Chicago's trying to get a change, and now they'll get it. As Pronger recovers for the Blues. Cross for Dimitra. Another cross-ice pass is broken up, and it's set into the corner. Here's Lubos Barteco. He's run out by Manson. Eastwood over to help out. Help put Manson down. Kilger for Chicago. Able to force it ahead to center ice. But McInnes is there for the Blues. Good tape passing. You hear the hard clicks on the ice.
But, yeah, all the way back down into their own end. Oh, here's a good break, though.
Eastwood overskated momentarily. To Barteco, tried to center for Dimitra. And it was broken up past behind him a bit.
When
Kilger.
you've got a skill level like Al McInnes and Ricard Persson on defense, you can afford to bring the play all the way back down when you're in to get it organized, because you saw that great pass from McInnes to Mike Eastwood.
A couple of AHL All-Stars on the ice. I mean, AHL All-Stars this year. Barteco and Persson both voted to the team. I'm sure both players hoping they're not available to play in the AHL All-Star game in Philadelphia. Chase tried to center. Looked like it went off the iron to the post and out of play and into the crowd. St. Louis, they're hanging tough after trailing 2-0 early. They're in a 2-all tie. They drop the puck. This third period action continues here from the Kiel Center in St. Louis. Chicago is coming up on 12.5 minutes without a single shot on goal. And that has certainly helped to keep this in a 2-all hockey game. Here's Kelly Chase. Already has a point tonight. Drop for Rivers' shot. Stopped by Thibault. And he'll make the save as players come together.
That's Brad Brown for Chicago and Tony Twist. Remember, they kind of were eye to eye in the second period. Tony Twist has already had a go with D.B. Bonvie in this tilt. Tony looks like he wants a little more. But Brad Brown, while he has lit it up penalty minutes wise, has turned into a player with Chicago. It looks like Brad Brown wants to stay on the ice a little bit.
We are set for an update. Here's John Butchergrass. John.
Steve, we're looking at history. The first penalty shot in Carolina Hurricane history. They're down by 1. 1:06 to go. Save Tom Barrasso. Sammy Kapanen cannot tie the game. The Pens hold on. 4 assists for Jágr. Penguins win 4-2.
All right, John, thanks. We'll see you later on NHL tonight. We mentioned the St. Louis Blues are missing some offense. Of course, Jeff Courtnall remains out of the lineup. So, too, their big offensive star, Pierre Turgeon, who joins Bill and I here in the booth. Kiel Center, welcome to ESPN2's booth.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting us in your house as well.
When you get a chance, we want to find out how that hand is. Although from looking at it, it looks like you're not quite ready.
Back behind Manette. Comes up for LaFlamme for Chicago. Blues able to keep in on the forecheck. Just hopped on Scott Pellerin. And Ricard Persson will go back for it. What about it, Pierre? The broken bone in the hand. How you feeling?
Well, it's feeling better. I mean, I'm gonna start doing some stuff with the hockey sticks probably next Monday, so I just can't wait.
The cast taken off Monday?
No, the cast is off already, so I'm gonna start playing with hockey sticks next Monday. So.
Icing is called and bring it back down into the St. Louis end.
Yeah, you got a chance to be a little more effective with the stick, right?
Yeah.
and you know what? It might not be so bad if it wasn't your left hand, because it's the bottom hand on your stick, and you really do a lot of work with
that. I mean, I think it's going to be probably better down, the hand down there. And,
you think it will be better trying to come back from the left hand?
I would say so. But I mean, we'll see how it goes. But like I said, a few days now, I'm going to start practicing with hockey sticks and see how it feels, and go from there.
Yeah, the only problem may be the face-offs. That's what you need.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we'll try some face-off obviously before we start playing hockey.
Well, I imagine you're in pretty good shape. The one advantage of an upper extremity injury is that you can still work out and skate and stay in pretty good shape.
Exactly. I mean, that's what I've been doing. I've been skating a little bit and doing some workout, Stairmaster and running a little bit. It's always different. And even if you do some stuff off ice, when you go on the ice, it's different.
Yep.
Give you the obvious question, how tough is it to watch hockey? You've been injured before. You've been through this. Does it get any easier to watch?
No, it's not fun. It's not fun watching from upstairs, and you would prefer to be in the action and be right on the ice.
Yeah, especially with Jeff Courtnall having a tough time with his concussion, and your guys seemingly needing offense. I mean, Pavel Dimitri's had a pretty good year, but Brett Hall's not here any longer, and Steve Duchesne's on the power play, so you're a real important part of this team. Not that you weren't before, but with the offense that is required here, it must be even tougher to sit up here and watch.
Well, yeah, I mean, you want to be on the ice, but I think they've been doing pretty good lately, and I mean, we're a kind of team that needs not one line and two lines. We need 4 lines to go to win hockey games, and lately we've been doing pretty good on the ice.
Yeah, I'd say you got the 3rd best winning percentage in the Western Conference in spite of the fact that you guys have been banged up. You and Jeff Courtnall have been out of the lineup. So that says something for the guys that are playing out there.
Hard hit by Tony Amonte. Put Terry Yake down to the ice. Centering feed in front. Eastwood is there for St. Louis. Comes up for Chelios. That's blocked by Pronger, and he's able to clear ahead. We've mentioned the first meeting of the season between these two teams. You guys really smoked Chicago 5-2. Anything personally stand out in your mind from that game?
Well, I mean, Chicago, I think, came here, and I don't know, they weren't playing that good. I think they're playing a little better lately in the last 2 or 3 games, and you know what? They have a good hockey team. They can't, you know, go on the ice and it's going to be an easy game. There's no more easy game in the NHL.
See, that's modesty, Bill. He had a hat trick in that game, and he failed to mention it.
No.
Well, that's your job, Steve. That's our job. That's why they like Pierre here in St. Louis, because he's a humble guy.
Dimitra had a 5-point game that night. Yeah. Here's Emerson hitting the brakes. Probert gets to it. Bergevin on him. Back to the point. Fakes the shot. Now lets it go. Right on. And McLennan able to make the stop with Probert right in front of him, just a few inches away.
Yeah, this has been the most effective line for Chicago. Nelson Emerson, Bob Probert, and Todd White, because when they get the puck down low, they forecheck and get it back, and then they cycle pretty well. What the Blues do is take away the rush pretty well. That is why we haven't noticed the Shamnoff line at all, and we haven't really noticed Doug Gilmour and the smaller guys so much, because St. Louis has not given Chicago anything on the rush. Looked like Jamie McLennan was able to see that one all the way from the blue line. But it's been a real effective St. Louis team defensively, except when that Probert line is out there.
Face off to the left of McLennan. Turnaround shot right through the crease. Eastwood gets to it and flips to center. It's been quite a news week in St. Louis, Pierre. The big fine for the tampering charges against Scott Stevens. Grant Fuhr says he's going to call it quits after next year as Handzus lets the shot go, and the rebound comes to Chicago. Care to comment on any of the items?
Well, I mean, those things you can't, as far as the organization, there's been a lot of change in the organization last year, and then the people who made those decisions, they're not here anymore, so it's kind of hurt the team a little bit, but
yep.
You know, they have to keep focusing on the team and keep building.
Quickly, did Grant's announcement surprise you?
No, I mean, he said it. He's been saying the next 2 years, next year he would retire. You know, but you know, I don't know when.
Back in St. Louis, our thanks to Pierre Turgeon, the offensive star of the St. Louis Blues. The PR people are saying look for him back in some 2 to 4 weeks. He said when he left us, maybe 1 to 2 weeks back on the ice.
And Denny Savard has joined the bench behind the Chicago players. He's on the headset for the first 2 periods and has come down. He used to get the job done on the ice in the 3rd period. Now his best chance is just to inspire somebody to get it done.
Great scene at practice today, I thought. Bill was rattling Denny Savard, one of the great passers in history. And after you said something, he could barely complete a pass. Here's a pass in for Kilger. Cuts in front. Great stop by McLennan with the stick. And Conroy the other way, ahead to McInnes as we go a little coast to coast now. McInnes, and a penalty behind the play. I thought it would have been called for offside, but a penalty behind the play, maybe a kneeing call.
It's against St. Louis. I know that. He was pointing at one of the Blues players. Pretty sure it's coming against St. Louis. They had the puck when the whistle blew, so I'm not sure that it was an offside. Number 22, Dave Manson. Yeah, what the heck happened here? Oh, this is the save on Chad Kilger. Jamie McLennan with a real good decision to get his stick into that play. Watch his stick. I mean, Kilger had him beat to the forehand if McLennan doesn't go for the stick. Here it is right here. Basically, that's a goalie's only defense against that guy going wide is the stick. So you hope to time perfectly. If you give a talented enough guy enough time, he'll just chip it over your stick and ram it home.
Those real speed replays are great. You get so used to the slow-mo, and then you see really how fast it happens. You don't have a lot of time to make decisions. Well, folks, SportsCenter is coming up at 11:30 Eastern tonight over on ESPN. Dan Patrick and Kenny Mayne are there. John Thompson makes a major announcement. Bill alluded to what he thought it was earlier. We'll see what it is on SportsCenter with Dan and Kenny over on ESPN later tonight. Penalty was Young for tripping at 7:45. 5th power play of the night for Chicago. They're 0 for 4 and have yet to even manage a single shot on those 4 power plays.
That's amazing. Remember, coming into this tilt, they were 0 for their last 2 games, 0 for 7, so they're up to 0 for 11 now, which isn't really scary by NHL standards, but the fact that you got 4 power plays and you get a shot, that's scary.
Here's Manson, lets it rip. Looking for the far side, might have seen an inch or 2, but it went wide of the net. Amonte lets it go for Chelios. Amonte cross for Manson. They missed on the angle there, and because of it, it comes back to center. Conroy chasing Chelios and then takes a seat on the bench. Off for Amonte and across the line. He'll flip in deeper. Pronger is back forward. He'll slap it around. And it rolls up on Chelios. He couldn't keep in. Coming up on 50 seconds left on the power play time. Chelios is back forward. And looks to move it ahead. On for Amonte. Pass just a bit too far for Todd White. Probert gets in there to make the nice play. Good hustle play by Bob Probert there. And here's a break. Here's Conroy breaking, or rather Eastwood. Backhand over the net. Mike Eastwood, the short-handed tally over the net, and a penalty coming up. And that'll do away with the rest of the power play.
Oh, what a nice try from Mike Eastwood. You know, the Blackhawks tried to keep the play alive at the blue line. Watch this. The puck's going to be attempted to dump out, and then it was knocked down at the blue line, I think, by Nelson Emerson. And what that did is put it right to the stick of Mike Eastwood. Here's the penalty right here. Oh, yeah, Dave Manson went for his back. It didn't really affect Mike Eastwood's shot. Mike Eastwood is not a goal scorer. He went to his backhand and just kind of shoveled it into the stands. And by then, Dave Manson is slashing in the back. At least that evens things up for St. Louis. And in 23 seconds, the Blues will end up in a power play. These are crucial power plays right here with 10 minutes to go. It's been a tight game. Dirk Graham's guys have had to struggle to get chances, so you would think that a power play would be so valuable to them, but they still didn't get it. Randy, they didn't get a shot on that power play either. So they are now officially 0 shots on 5 power plays. Wow.
They have 11 shots in the game to this point. 24 for St. Louis. We're 4 on 4 for 23 seconds now. Face-off. Good clean draw won by the Blues. Pronger cross. And the play was shot wide. Rolls to the front of the net as Helmer got that shot off. And it's jammed out the other way. He's 1 on 3. Now gets some help from Muir. And Amonte joins the party as well. Amonte entering your picture. Pronger for a soft pass behind the net. And the Blues penalty is over. Young's out of the box, and he's ahead of the pack as they look to spring him momentarily. Here's Terry Ake. Power play for St. Louis. Crowd into it now. Chance of let's go Blues, and let's go Al McInnes. Lets that heavy shot go on the pillowy pad of Thibault, able to make the stop. Kept in somehow by the Blues, and now Muir able to shovel it out of the zone.
Yeah, you better hope those pillows are extra thick king-size pillows you got on your legs when Al McInnes winds up.
Here's Dimitra on his backhand, centering feed, and Chelios, the cool veteran play, to just sweep it away. Forget about where it's going, just get it out of there. Young is taken down, cross ice. Pronger's got a lane, lets it go. Saved by Thibault. And he'll hang on as players come together.
Oh, check this out. Terry Ake turned around and retaliated on Chris Chelios, and then Chad Kilger waded in. Not like Chris Chelios needs any protection, but you know, it's a good sign when you see a hockey team out there standing up for one another. Sure, Dirk Graham's liking it. Chris Chelios would do that for one of his teammates, so it's the least Kilger could do. But, you know, when you don't win regularly, you kind of have a fragile confidence and you stop sticking up for one another. Sometimes an all-out, tough, dirty game. I'm not saying this is one, but sometimes when it gets really chippy and you really pull together. Watch Chad Kilger. See how he moved in right there? So that's a good sign for a team like Chicago.
Somewhat out of character for Yake. Looked like he initiated there on that play.
Well, remember, we've seen a great effort from Jimmy Campbell in this hockey game, and we also pointed out that Terry Yake started the season in the minors.
All right, so maybe he didn't initiate. Maybe Chelios initiated. But Yake responded.
He came back to retaliate, yeah.
there's a look at the old warhorse, Chris Chelios, in the season. Half past Keith Magnuson as the all-time leading penalty minutes person in Blackhawks history. Face-off coming up to the right from Jocelyn Thibault, who's been rather good in this hockey game. Power play on for St. Louis for 50 seconds. Keep in mind, Chicago scored their 2 goals in the first 6.5 minutes of this game, both by Doug Gilmour. The Blues have had their number ever since. They've yet been able to take the lead. McKinnis shot deflected. There's a real good reaction save by Thibault. Pronger able to keep in. He throws it around the boards deep. McKinnis in pinching, taking the initiative, but Chicago's Eddie Olczyk from his hockey pants able to clear.
Well, this is about the same blueprint as it's been for Jocelyn Thibault since he got to Chicago in that trade from Montreal. He's been fantastic. They get outshot incredibly by big numbers, and because of Thibault's play, they're still in it. And that's why the Chicago Blackhawks are in this game, because of Thibault now.
Shamnov in his own zone. Back for Chelios. Seems like he's been on the ice forever. And only now we get a breather, probably not for long. Blues look to come out. 8.5 to play here in the third. Here's Conroy on goal. Muir will take the rebound away from Thibault's pad. Ricard Pearson shot towards the front of the net with some traffic, and Thibault will hang on, and he gets the whistle. And you see some communication between the referee Terry Gregson and Jocelyn Thibault in terms of the whistle and hang on to the puck. They're still talking about it. We'll talk about it when we come. Chicago, only Tampa Bay scores less. Only Tampa Bay and Calgary allow more goals on the average. Only in Vancouver and the Rangers shoot less. I mean, really, you could pick any category for Chicago, and all the numbers are horrendous outside of the 23 that's next to number 10, Tony Amonte, and tied for the league-leading goal scorer. And you see that shot problem again continuing here tonight. You know, there's 2 shots in the second.
Yeah, they've only got another guy that's double-figure goal scorer, and that's Eric Daze. And Steve, I haven't heard you call his name for a while. I'm not sure that he's even on the bench. I'm trying to count up over there, and I think they're down a man, and I haven't seen Eric Daze in a long time now.
Icing is called. I agree. I haven't seen him either. Daze has struggled offensively. We told you, even with being the only double-digit goal scorer besides Amonte, he's a -18. That is tied for 3rd worst in the entire NHL. Yep. So again, it's up and down the roster.
I don't see him over there. And man, if Chicago lost Eric Daze, their only other double-figure goal scorer. Well, he's not there. You know that? I didn't see him get hurt at any point.
St. Louis Blues. They're 3 points out of first place in their division. They trail the Detroit Red Wings. They see a look at the Western Conference standings. Of course, the 8 teams that make the playoffs, and Chicago is nowhere to be found. Dirk Grambo pointed out today off this face-off, we got a shot pops over the net, that his Blackhawks are only 11 points out of the 3rd seed in the West. So they're checking the standings in Chicago.
Yep.
Wishful thinking. Blues get to it. Out of the corner. 7:40 to go, 3rd period. 2-2, Hawks and Blues. Young trying to spin away from the check. Real good battle of strength against strength there, and Manson won that battle, as you would expect he would. Pellerin trying to get to it, knocks it out of midair and sends it into the zone. Blues will go for wholesale changes. Manson carrying out for Chicago now. Flips into the corner. Probert in on the forecheck. Look out, Ricard Pearson doesn't have to worry about it because of the whistle for yet another icing call.
Amazing. Well, you know, when you've won as infrequently as Chicago has, I mentioned a fragile confidence. You'll take a point on the road. As bad as it has been for Chicago, you will take a point on the road. So we will see a lot of dumping off the glass and a lot of pucks being dumped down the ice. No question about it, the St. Louis Blues have been the team that has tried to carry the play to the Blackhawks, except for the Probert, Todd White, and that other good player that remains nameless at the present time, that's Nelson Emerson. Other than that line, there hasn't been Doug Gilmour's gotten 2 goals, but you look at the territorial play, not there for Chicago.
Wristed by McKinnis over the net, catches nothing but glass. Chelios and Yake get together. We'll watch for those 2 hooking up again. McInnes tried to shoot it in, unable to do so. Probert there, couldn't get out of his skates. And Chelios will go back and chase him. Back in center ice. There's Al McInnes for the Blues. Off for Pearson. Finds Yake at center. Spins away from the Probert check. Leaves for McInnes to Pearson. Flips it ahead. Chelios able to glove it down at the blue line. Finds Probert now. And he'll just softly throw it in. Pearson backcourt. Hammered by Emerson to the glass. McInnes gets to it. Turns it around. Sees Probert coming and gets rid of it. Here's Campbell at center and across the line. Here's Jim Campbell now. Campbell tried to throw it to the front of the net. Pearson was coming in from his point position. And a hard hit thrown there by Jim Campbell. He has been nothing if not energetic tonight in all three zones. Hanzus touches it, and we get a whistle with 6:03 to go. Tie game, regulation time. It's a special edition, folks, of National Hockey Night, January 23rd, 7 Eastern. The stars will shine. First, the heroes of hockey, and today's hero in the skills competition. Gretzky, Lindros, Jagr, just a few to be showcased January 23rd on your worldwide leader in sports. And folks, we're bringing the whole ESPN, ESPN2 team. We will have it covered for you. The NHL All-Star Weekend from Tampa, Florida.
And Big Al McInnes will be one of the starters, taking his 100-mile-an-hour shot to Florida.
Tampa could have a pretty good representative. How about Wendell Clark in the season he's had? Got a pretty good return to Toronto the other night. 3 assists, number 3 star in the game. Try to center it in front. Does center in front. Shot stopped by McLennan. Rebound loose. Great action by Chicago in front of that St. Louis cage.
Well, finally, Alexei Zhamnov has been heard from in the form of something offensive. Took that shot, Eddie Olczyk, Chad Kilger, and Alexei Zhamnov. It's kind of a makeshift line that makeshift. I mean, it's a new line from what Dirk Graham started this game with. It's a good play by Eddie Olczyk in behind to get it out to Zhamnov, and I'm not even sure McLennan saw it. It was kind of a screen that hit him. But the offensive scoring opportunities for Zhamnov and the Chicago Blackhawks after Doug Gilmour made it 2-zip early in this game. Not many. You know, that goal that Chris Pronger got to make it 2-1 at the end of the first was a pretty big goal. I mean, you end up 2-0 at the end of a first period. You've got a good chance to win.
Shot whistled wide of the net. Brad Brown will keep it in. He is hit immediately by Dimitra. And just able to clear. Couldn't be gloved down at the St. Louis blue line. Kilger will shoot it in. First player to it. Handers, look out! He is belted by Brown. But Blues get the break. Shot, score! The Blues get on the board. It's Pavel Dimitra. And St. Louis, a 3-2 lead.
Pavel Dimitra quiet no longer in this hockey game. Brad Brown with a huge hit. But I'm not sure Chad Kilger, who tried to catch up to Dimitra, really had him. So you got to wonder if Brad Brown picked a bad time to pinch up and make that big hit. But still, Pavel Dimitra's execution on this is terrific. It is really hard to one-time a backhand shot, especially with the speed that the pass had on it, and control it and get any kind of accuracy. Yeah, that net looks pretty big to some people, but when the puck is coming that fast and you're on your backhand, it takes great skill. That's a super goal by Dimitra.
20th goal of the season for Dimitra. This is a player who prior to this season had 37 goals in his career. On pace for a 44-goal season, maybe better now, as he hits number 20 tonight. It might have just be a game winner. 3-2 St. Louis. The Blues have scored 3 unanswered now, and we've got less than 5 minutes to play in the third. And the crowd will start to step it up. Off the goal there. Gilmour trying to poke the 3. It's Dimitra from Eastwood and Helmer, even strength at 14-40. Second assist of the night for Eastwood for the Blues. Kicked at by Gilmour. Can't get it away from Jake. Chelios finally works it free. Here's Tony Amonte at center, lets it go. McLennan will kick that one out.
Well, Pavel Demitra had been saving up his celebration mode this entire game. Now we see what it looks like. Well, Pavel Demitra has made this a 3-2 hockey game. Moments ago, Tony Twist went over and congratulated him and said, okay, so you pulled ahead of me in the scoring race. I fight more than you do. Pavel Demitra is one of the great bargains in the NHL this season. See him just kiss his stick there? How about that? Yeah, baby, don't break on me. You're hot. You're good. You got some goals left in you. Pavel Demitra is making $800,000, which is a bargain. He signed a contract. It's going to have him making more than that at the end of the contract, but it was a $4 million 3-year deal, but the first year of the deal is for $800,000, and boy, he's a bargain.
The theory here in St. Louis is that Demitra has replaced Hull in terms of goals, but no one has replaced Demitra's status as that sort of second-tier offensive player. As Rayom gets to it for the Blues and lifts it back in, and we get a whistle offside. We check in once again. Here's John Butchergross.
Thank you, Steve. Our 10-10-2-20 save of the night in Boston. Bruins up 2-1, trying to get an insurance goal. Jason Allison, the puck trickles across the line, though, just before it goes over. Glenn Healy with the save of the night. It was reviewed. No goal, but the Bruins still win 2-1. 10-10-2-20 save of the night.
John, thanks. We'll see you on NHL Tonight with Barry Melrose immediately following our game. We'll look at our goaltenders, and he just made a great save or two this evening.
A great look at Jamie McLennan. We just saw him on the left side of the screen. He was in a set position, really ready to go. The face-off was at the far blue line. I mean, he doesn't take anything for granted. He was focused and in the the full ready position, and the face-off was 150 feet away.
If it was the other goaltender with McInnes on the ice, you could understand.
Right, you're never safe.
Right. Here's Conroy able to get it out ahead. LaFlamme out to greet him, and he'll just shoot in, kill off some valuable Chicago clock as we approach 3 minutes to play here in the third. The Blues, on Pavel Demitra's 20th goal of the season, have taken a 3-2 lead over Chicago. And St. Louis will fire it right back out. This one fired a bit too hard. Will go for icing? No. Demitra, great hustle play there to prevent the icing call. Keep the clock running and keep the puck down deep. There is Demitra. There's Bob Probert. Demitra, though, comes away. Shot saved by Thibault, who went down to the ice. Demitra again has the puck. This shot is blocked by Probert. Brad Brown gets to it for Chicago. Out ahead. Here's Nelson Emerson now. He's got some good speed, but can't get around Al McInnes. Probert gets by Handzus. With one arm, still trying to work it free. Bergevin flips it off the glass and around. Coming up on 2 minutes to play here in regulation time. And it goes through Manson, and deep inside the Chicago zone. Blues will change. Off Probert's skate. He'll shoot in, and he will change. They get that top offensive unit out for Chicago. Brian Muir pinching in from his defensive position. We'll see a lot more of that in the final few minutes. Amonte's pass was blocked and came back out to center. Amonte able to get back to it, though, and shoots in. Gilmore in on the forecheck. Hops over Chelios. He would have had to be an NBA player to knock that one down. And Muir gets to it. This will be icing, and a critical face-off coming up deep inside the St. Louis zone.
Well, we've tallied the votes from our ESPN.com question. Who's the best winger among U.S.-born players? John LeClair won at 60.6%. Boy, is that a decided victory, with Keith Tkachuk at 27, Tony Monty at 12. We had just under 10,000 people that voted on that, so John LeClair has put up some pretty big numbers over the last few years. Wouldn't mind having either one of these guys on my team. John LeClair was in action tonight. Don't forget, Sports Center is coming up at 11:30 on ESPN, so you'll catch some of the hockey highlights there as well. Dan and Kenny will take you through everything that's going on in the world of sports.
Timeout called by Chicago. Big face-off coming up, and face-off coming up here. Face-offs tonight so far, very even. As you look at some of the ice time from some of the key defensemen here, but the face-offs, St. Louis 41 wins, Chicago 40 wins. They should be close. St. Louis is 6th best in the league in face-offs. Chicago is 7th best in the league in face-offs. It'll be interesting to see who takes these draws. Eastwood, percentage-wise, is the best face-off man for St. Louis. It looks like Craig Conroy will take the draw.
Well, Conroy's good, too. Doug Gilmour is the lone soldier back at the point. Chris Chelios has moved up. There's only one defenseman out there and 4 forwards for Chicago, and we'll watch for Thibault to get to the bench.
And a whistle, puck out of play. 1:21 left in the third.
I don't think Dirk Graham has really diagrammed much in the form of strategy just yet. If you get down to 20 or 30, well, now Thibault is headed to the bench, and it looks like they are going to pull him. Chicago has yet to use their timeout.
No, Chicago took theirs.
They took their timeout.
St. Louis has
St.
not.
Louis has yet to take their timeout. But St. Louis would only do that, I would think, to rest Chris Pronger because he has played so much. But as long as there are stoppages like this, they'll be fine.
Thibault out of the net. Extra attacker is on. Face-off, Conroy and Jamnov. Jamnov wins this one. Back to Chelios. They'll move in deep now. Amonte gets to it. Wraps it around for Chelios. Plays it off his skate. Jamnov looking to force it deeper. McInnes knocks it down. Blues get to it, but can't clear. Shot from the point by Gilmour is blocked. Probert gets to it. Rolls up around the boards, and Chelios on his backhand couldn't keep it inside the zone. They'll skate away from Mike Eastwood. Under a minute to play. Net remains empty for the Blackhawks. Here's Nelson Emerson shooting in for Gilmour, first man to get to it. Probert gets to it, rolls around to the point. No one there. Amonte shows the good speed to get to it. Forced to play deeper. Centering feed in front off the skate of Amonte. Pellerin on him. And the Blues come away. It's Pronger. He's got Young, and he's got an empty net. He's going to goal. Chris Pronger, the captain of the Blues, has put this one away. It's 4-2 St. Louis.
And that was after Bob Probert did a really good job of bumping Chris Pronger off the puck to keep the play alive in the Blues zone. But finally, the puck ended up in an area of the ice. Well, nobody get it. See on the top of your screen right there, bang, against the boards. That was Probert, and he came away with the puck. Pronger went back at Probert and then saw some daylight right here. See Pronger jump up in the play? But Probert had done a real good job on him prior to that. And that's a good decision by Pronger. You know, you want to be the unselfish guy as the captain and try to make the pass. Believe me, the best option there was the shot because the pass had a stick and a body in between Pronger and his target.
And the frustration has to be mounting for Chicago. Really, in the first period, it looked like maybe they turned the corner. The other team was more penalized than they were. They scored the first 2 goals of the game. They scored in the first minute of play. Since then, there hasn't been much for them. Just 2 shots in the second. It's carried over here into the third, and it will go down as just another road loss for the Blackhawks. Shot right on, and that will do it. Victory for Jamie McLennan and the St. Louis Blues.
Well, the St. Louis Blues may have scored 4 goals, but that was pretty well a defensive masterpiece against a team that has had trouble scoring, the Chicago Blackhawks. When your captain, who is a defenseman, can skate away from this tilt with 2 goals in his pocket, pretty good night all around for St. Louis. Another well-earned win.
That's our final. The Blues double up the Blackhawks by a score of 4-2. Our next game for you here on ESPN2's National Hockey Night. Monday night from the desert, the Buffalo Sabres will be in Phoenix to take on the Coyotes at 9 Eastern Time. This has been a presentation of ESPN2 with ESPN, the worldwide leaders in sports. Bill and I come back to wrap it up, and then we'll send you to NHL tonight. Again, the Blues beat the Hawks.